Good afternoon for everybody watching this channel. This is Shirley with Spirit of Matter, and this is the usual forecast for the new moon in Aquarius. Lord, if you're here with me live, and if not, I'll probably put it to everyone in about 2 weeks, right before before the new moon. Or maybe you want me to put it now, I don't know. Then comment if you're here. The current planets for me recording, this is not an election, but it is a Jupiter hour where I'm at, so it's a lucky time to do stuff. The Ascendant is nearing Lilith, and the Moon is now in Leo, which is my sixth house, trining that Jupiter. And exactly oppositioning Venus in Aquarius, and I did a video about Venus in Aquarius. So without further ado, let me use the astro tools and get to the new moon in Aquarius. So annual. I could do the monthly as well, but I just want no, not the full moon will give me the new moon as well, and this is the chart for the new moon. In 21st of January, well, thinking in three languages is difficult. 21, 21, 21, 21. Okay, 21st January 2023. This is the chart with the great courtesy of astrosig.com that you can freely search for charts and do a lot of cool stuff. And I also have a video about a part of the stuff you can do on this very free website. So go ahead and donate Peter at AstroSig if you like this site, like I do. And now we shall proceed to the actual. I'm not getting any like dividends from that. So now we shall proceed to the actual chart. So this is first degree of Aquarius. Moon and Sun are separation from conjunction with Pluto, which I believe we can't ignore, and are applying to trine Mars. They apply to sextile Jupiter, so there's a lot to like about this. They, however, and I don't know why it's not showing, um, uh, oppose Black Moon Lilith. And so Black Moon Lilith seems to continue to oppose Pluto and whatever is near Pluto. Um, Good time to think about our core bodily needs or fertility needs. I've been exposed to the goddess Freya. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. And even received some like unexpected cats that I could not ignore. Like I'm around cats, but suddenly somebody climbs on with a cat on the bus in public transportation. I guess, okay, and that's interesting. So that kept coming up. Lilith herself is around a dark, maybe say dark feminine. Well, just a woman or a feminine connected to the bodily instincts. Um, and so when she was in Cancer, I talked about it. That was very much the emotional security needs to be, whether sexual or fertile. That's how I experienced it, and as well purging whatever was not in alignment with that. So any trauma related to that, it could have been another signification. And Leo is a fire sign, so with new moons and full moons and anything moon related, we also cannot say moon without saying sun. Okay, a new moon is conjunct the sun, a full moon is opposition the sun. Okay? Lunar eclipse is when the moon, if I'm not mistaken, with the sun. Solar eclipse when the moon is opposition the sun. I don't remember exactly, but we cannot say anything lunar without the sun. And having so the moon rules Cancer. For those of you who are not like really astrology savvy, that's great. That's why you're like that's a great reason to watch my channel to get to know more. And feel free to ask anything. Moon rules Cancer, the Sun rules Leo. And so it's a good thing to look at what's in Cancer, what's in Leo right now. Um, I ignored the midheaven in Ascendant because, well, maybe it's not for a good reason, but I currently like to analyze or delineate into the moon and sun and what's happening there, because the lunation lasts for, a couple of hours at least. So the effects of it, of course, last longer. Um, so I don't know if it actually is that it begins with the midheaven in Cancer in Arad, Israel. Like, I don't think that's the point. Um, Maybe I'm wrong. If you have experiences with lunations and ascendant of the lunation, of the eclipse, of the new moon, of the full moon, let me know. Or you can make a video about that and address, or a reaction video, and then put the link in this channel so I can watch it. Um, and so for this new moon, Lilith is in Leo. So where the sun rules, Lilith is in. And although it's a new lunar beginning, it's tied in with the sun, and the moon is oppositioning that Lilith exactly. What I expect, God bless, what I expect, because it's not a full moon, so I guess it's not an exposure like we had with the lunation in Cancer, okay? Where we had something being noticeable or visible in its absence, with the moon opposition in Mercury retrograde on the sun. But because it's a new moon, what I expect to happen with that Lilith is more an initiation and a manifestation of something that you desire, like a carnal desire in a in your Leo house. So something you're conceiving something, or you're seeing into the nature of your desires in relation to solar things and what it rules for you. Okay, so let's take this chart for example. Let's say you had the ascendant in Libra, and that would make, and I will do the 12 ascendants later. That would make the sun in your fifth house. Okay, I'm using here whole signs. Okay, and but Leo in your 11th house. So the new beginning you have in your fifth house, you have in your Aquarius house, is actually tightly related, but also conflicted with something that you're conceiving in your 11th house. So let's say fifth house classical. Let's say you want to have a child, and now you are doing your thing, huh? But the good solution for this would be to go and have a child when you're going to a conference, or when you're going, to make babies. If you know you want to make babies, to try to do that when you're in a conference, and then after that, or things related to the 11th are your goals and dreams, acquaintances, and so on and so forth. Or you could be having, because fifth house is also fertility of creative projects. So you could be sensing, like have a bodily sense, or connect to your heart. Okay, if Cancer was connect to your womb, and sometimes you discovered, well, I connect to my womb, and what I feel like is I need a hug. I don't want the heart, the heart to be left out in the cold when with the sun is very much related to your heart, and to your eyes as well. And so pay attention to what's going on with the eyes, how you wake up. Are they dry? Are they teary or wet? Wet. Pay attention to your eyes. Okay. There could be a Lilith experience related to what's going on with your eyes. Also, it may be that you're creating a fertile creative project, and then Lilith plays the role of having your goals and dreams in alignment with, and your new beginnings and creative projects and what you do for fun in alignment with your bodily instincts. Okay, simple thing. Let's say you'd like to perform and you're being given a certain role, okay, but your body tells you no, this is not okay. I got this chance, I got this role, I got this audition, I got accepted, but my body tells me this is not the right role for me to play. And your body could be warning you, okay, or your body could be telling you something is just not for you, or your body could tell you that this little role that I was auditioned to, that I actually, that doesn't pay that much, I actually want that role. And with that role, you would feel happier with your success, because the heart is also your heart's desires. Okay, so pay attention to that. Hey, this new moon, pay attention to Lilith. Lilith is in the first degree of Leo. Leo is wearing your heart on your sleeve. Leo is your sight. Okay, the sun rules your sight. At the end of Leo, there is also Regulus, so you might want to work with Regulus if it's something you want fame. But I see, oh, immediately I noticed in my eyes that the Regulus was not correctly made, not yet for this Lilith. So basically, pay attention to what your body signals. Okay, the minute I said Regulus, my eyes went a bit dry, so I said no. My eyes need to be in good temperature, and then I came back to Lilith. This is another sign that you will receive from your body if the beginning that you're manifesting, what you're trying to manifest, what you want to plant the seed for in this new moon or conceive, um, has to be in alignment with your bodily instincts, with your desire. You have to see clearly, your eyes need to be in good temperature, and your heart back straight. Okay, the position, the opposition of Leo is basically a Saturn ruled sign, that's Aquarius, and Saturn is also the spinal cord. Okay, so you want your spinal cord straight, you want your posture to be open and stable, and you want, you know, your shoulders to be wide and basically to have a position of openness. And when you can either go into the position and see what comes up for you, or you can manifest and think about something, and or sense into something or see something, and notice your posture, notice your eyes, straighten your position. So work both ways. Okay, how do I feel? I think about this, what is my posture, and then I get into the right correct posture, and I manifest or bring something into being, maintaining that posture and maintaining my eyes clear. So um, that can be a great sign into how to work with this new moon. The conjunction of the new moon is separating from Pluto. This means that both the sun and the moon have been informed with that underworking of the outer planet. Okay, they have been consulting with Pluto, and following that culmination, because the moon was in closing when it arrived Pluto, following that new cycle, there is something new to bring into the world. Okay, think about Pluto in Capricorn, being informed about everything that's not working in the structure, in any hierarchical structure, and following being informed from an intellectual or heart-centered point of view, Sun, or also about leading figure, ruling figures, Sun, uh, and more, I wanted to say sensual, and I wonder if that's because Lilith is still in Cancer, psychological, intuitive, perhaps sensual because of the womb, care giving or care receiving, point of view, Moon, um, we've discovered something, we've realized something, we've closed the cycle, and now being more aware of what we need to feel safe, Moon, and what is our legacy that we want to bring, Sun, um, we can create something new that is more in alignment with who we are now or with what is fit now. Also in relation to Pluto. So, to give concrete example, and I will use this chart again. So let's say you have ascendant in Libra and Leo is in your 11th house, Cancer is in your 10th house, and Pluto is basically in your 4th house with the lunation in your 5th. So one possibility could be, let's say you discovered you want to have a child or want to have children, but you also want to structure your home in a way that is compatible with that. Okay, it may be with Pluto going through your 4th house. Perhaps you have been dealing with issues of power surrounding your upbringing, surrounding your physical home, surrounding the home you're trying to build. And now you're more aware of what you would like there to be, how you would like what you would like your children to grow into. Okay. For example, let's say that you are, let's say you're a man, okay, and you discovered within you have the desire to have children. And with Mercury there now, Mercury will be direct. Mercury also rules children. So let's say you said, okay, I want to bring children. And then you realize that there are certain types of rules that affect your ability to be the caregiver of the children, even if you part with your spouse. Okay? And now you want to ensure that, or you want to perhaps agree with your spouse, a legally binding agreement as to what happens if we, with the children if we divorce. You know, people talk about prenuptial in the sense of property, but prenuptial is also in the sense of children. Let's say you have a partner who is from abroad. Okay, Mercury here will in the 9th house. Maybe maybe the child is born abroad, or you met someone and you want to bring children. Let's say for some godforsaken reason you desire to return to your motherland, or one of you desires to move to another country. It can be also if you were born in the same country. Um, what happens with the children? This is something that is, if it's possible to think about it before you even bring the children, then this would be the time to do so. And perhaps now with you're more informed, because maybe you're like, oh, we're in love, let's bring children, let's bring children. And I say, okay, now I've been exposed to something. Now I've realized that now as we're coming close to actually doing that, and maybe, you know, you thought about how it would affect your career. Okay, Moon ruling the 10th house. How will you make place for caregiving, or how would that affect your dreams and goals, 11th house? So you had to readjust that, or maybe it's the relation Pluto, okay, the relation between the 4th house and the 10th house, Pluto being in the 4th house. You want to have a vision, to have a, you know, your vision board, okay? What are you acting on in this cycle? It has to include and accommodate for those factors that were rising. Perhaps you met a beautiful person and said, oh, you know, I see in her the mother of my children, and see in him the father of my children. Great, wunderbar, wonderful. We were so busy about that, and now it's time, you know, for the practical concerns. Okay, what agreements you need to do? How do you accommodate that in terms of your career, 10th house? Okay, your status, your career. Now you're not just going to be the spouse of, but you're, or maybe you're a single lad or single mom. Okay, you're also going to be the mother of, the father of. Okay, some people, what they're known for, 10th house, their identity is sometimes changing with parenting. So this is one example. Of course, it can be about some new project that you're creating and how it will affect the relations in your house and so on and so forth. Um, but this is how Pluto can come about. Okay, Pluto is about issues of power, issues of power and control, fears of abandonment, fears. Okay, just today I noticed Chris Brennan talked about Pluto and Aquarius as fear of technology. I think it was Chris. I don't know if he was quoting one of the other, astrologers, or he was quoting himself. The fear of technology, and Pluto can also be fear of something. Okay, Pluto in Capricorn, the fear of the structure, the fear of plutocracy, the fear of rules, and the fears are related to perhaps nature or agriculture. Maybe you have land and you're like, okay, well I have crops and so on and so forth. Um, so I was too busy predicting, scientific discoveries, but it's also fear, okay? Um, and and how do you address these fears? So this lunation, I like it that it is separating from the conjunction to Pluto, so it is informed, and there it literally is the light in, like you went through the dark tunnel, and now you're seeing the light. But when you're seeing the light, you've also went through the dark tunnel. Okay, so you're informed about those issues in whichever house Capricorn is for you. And so this creation, this literally creation, is one that is more grounded, is more astute, is more perhaps realistic, okay, and is more allowing of genuine structure or formation that gets you to be able to achieve what you desire. Okay, because now you've been informed of that structure. Yeah, I recently talked about credit scoring in my video concerning the full moon in Cancer and how it played out. And so, for example, if you have been responsible with cash, you have not used debt, and so you discover that as you, let's say, want to buy land or buy a house, you discover that you don't have a good credit score because you never used debt. Okay, if you don't use debt and you're being responsible, you only pay with cash, you only money, then you don't have a credit score. Okay, and that's something I also discovered through Richard Grennan, who had this problem himself in the beginning, and then you say, okay, this is time to either do activism about it, sue, talk about it, raise awareness, that we should be able to buy a house with cash, we should be able to buy a land with cash, we should be able to use our money responsibly and have a zero debt policy. And there's a lot of danger in that, in the necessity to be in debt in order to have a good credit score. Alternatively, we should choose our battles and decide, oh well, I'm just going to apply for having a credit card. I'm going to see where can I live, where I can pay my rent in credit card, where I can pay my essentials or my insurance in credit card, and so on and so forth. So those were one of the things that we may have discovered during the full moon in Cancer when Mercury was retrograde that now we can address with the new moon in Aquarius in a different way. Okay, we'll have more light. Another aspect that I noticed is the the applying trine to Mars, and again, this is a direct Mars in Gemini. Still 8 degrees of Gemini. It is not yet on Aldebaran, but this is a good time to work with it. And when you think about it, think about Mars reaching Aldebaran as well. Okay, so what you're starting off now, the telos, okay, the direction, and telos is an interesting word because telos is usually linear, and here we're talking about a non-linear dynamic system that is the movement of the planets or the relative experience of the movement of the planet from the point of our Earth. Okay, to the people who are non-astrologers and think that astrologers are just stupid. No, it's not that we don't know cosmology. It's that we, yeah, it's not that we don't know cosmology. It's that we use astrology as um, how it affects the earth and not how it affects itself. That is something we can adapt to once we go, on Mars, on Venus, and so on and so forth. So Mars in 8 degrees Gemini is already in Rohini Nakshatra. Okay? Rohini Nakshatra is about wealth, material wealth, the hunger for material wealth. Okay? So wherever Gemini is for you, in this chart, it is in the ninth house. So maybe somebody wants to have business or trade abroad. Okay? Um, and or to start new studies, okay, higher learning. Maybe somebody wants to study abroad or to study in a higher education. Okay, somebody wants to apply for a second, third, fourth degree or whatnot. Don't laugh when I say fourth. There are people who did a fourth degree. Um, so this good connection between the house where the moon is to the house where Mars is gives us the support of the planet of direction. And Mars is the linear of all planets in the archetypal energy, because literally the energy of the phallus, okay? So a direct arrow, right? So um, with Mars in Gemini, it had 70 days. Thank you, S.J. Anderson, for counting the days. So, because of your post, I know it's 70 days in Gemini. And now, it's direct in the same degree where it turned. This is the first degree where it goes direct. It's the 8th degree. It's already Rohini Nakshatra. It's already about a hunger for wealth. So what motivates Mars in Rohini Nakshatra, and this is also where in 1 degree he will meet Aldebaran. And Aldebaran is about the victory. It, like I said, tropically Mercury rules small things, so it can be a small victory. It can also it be because opposite to Aldebaran there is Antares in Sagittarius tropically. It can also be, one side is winning the battle but losing the war. So with Rohini Nakshatra and its desire for material wealth, the hunger, okay, the hungry hustle, yeah, and the Aldebaran is a victory, okay. Aldebaran is a talisman that we use to ensure victory on a topic. Okay, we want the desire to take the crown. That's Aldebaran. But Aldebaran is also associated with being devoured by animals, okay, and also being a perpetrator in your own desire for material wealth. Okay, it's like an animal. It's animalistic. It's the nature of Mars, and I think Mars. I think it's Mars. I don't know if it's Mars Jupiter or Mars Saturn. Um, I think it's Mars Jupiter, and when we begin this new moon, Mars is still in the Rohini Nakshatra, but not yet 1 degree from Aldebaran. Okay, it's good to understand that Mars will reach Aldebaran. So if you're starting something like to do with litigation, okay, a battle, challenging something, or even a competition, take into account if Mars is your like your not your yeah, it's malefic within sect. Okay, that's the malefic that works for you, that protects you, or the malefic out of sect. Okay, which can also work for you and protect you. Okay, like if you do, let's say your Saturn is your malefic out of sect, and you check that. But first, let's say Saturn is the malefic out of sect, and you do agriculture, or you tend to your skin, or you tend to your teeth, to your nails holistically, you take dedication, you can still work with Saturn, okay? It's not a black or white thing. Um, but let's say Mars is the malefic, the more problematic malefic for you. So take into account that in 1 degree Mars wins. Okay? If that Mars is you, good for you. But if that Mars is not you, or that Mars is your enemy, then you might want to reconsider whether this is the time that you want to litigate, whether this Mars on Aldebaran means your personal victory or somebody represented by Mars in your chart. Okay, if you are ruled by Mars, this can absolutely be your victory, but you will also need to look into whether that's going to be a Pyrrhus victory, whether that's going to be a Pyrrhus like an empty victory, whether that's going to be a winning the battle, losing the war victory, or where that is a genuine small victory that is yours and that is yours for the taking. Okay. Um, so definitely you would want with Mars, you would want material wealth to be a part of what you're starting. How to go about this in a way that serves your well-being is possible because of the trine. It's possible. Here's an harmonious aspect, like in the blue aspects, are aspects that you need to tap into. Okay, you need to set intention. Hey, what help can I get here? Oh, there's this, Mars in Reading, etc. Oh, good. Maybe I can integrate a desire for wealth and well-being, or maybe work on my wealth and well-being. Okay, if it's like this chart, ninth house, maybe you've been wanting to study, I don't know, something to do with communication or trade, or you've been wanting to study abroad or travel abroad. You're like, oh, I'd like to manifest the wealth to be doing that while maintaining my well-being. Okay, now it's possible. Um, how do you know if you have night chart or a day chart? So, you see here this ascendant and descendant. If the sun, okay, not the moon, if the sun is here in this half between the ascendant and the descendant, the lower half, you're a night chart. And so for this chart, Mars is malefic with insect, and Saturn here with Venus conjuncting Venus on Andeneb Algedy, which I'll talk about later, is the malefic out of sect. Okay, so Saturn is your concern much more than Mars is. Okay, Mars can cause you difficulty. Saturn can really be a problem. Okay, so this is with this chart. If the sun is above the rising, so from the descendant to the ascendant, okay, this part of the chart, that would make you a day chart, and that would make Mars the more difficult planet for you. Okay, but then with Mars being direct, even if Mars is the more difficult, with Mars being direct, trining this new lunation, you can set the intention that things will work out for you. Okay? That you can set the intention to take the direction that is beneficial for your well-being. Another aspect we see here. So this is a very in the blue chart in general. We do have a square here, a separating square with Mercury and Jupiter. Which is again, your philosophy and your applied hands-on experience have tension to them. Okay, maybe you have, let's say, I have a zero debt philosophy, but my hands-on experience says that if I want to buy, property, then I will need to work on my credit score. So my hands-on experience is basically contrary or in tension with my zero debt policy. Okay, and I need to adjust for them. Okay, so maybe I will take a credit card and I will use it only to pay my rent. But then, can I pay my rent in my current house, or do I need to look for a house? Maybe I will use it, only for the studies that are, or for my business, okay, or anything that I need to buy for my business. Or something that I know it's easy for me to manage, so I can have like a middle ground between my zero debt policy and my credit score, so like I can fit in with the rest of humanity and be both responsible financially the way I see it, ideologically or philosophically, and in terms of hands-on experience. okay, that is actually using credit in a responsible way. So this is one good example of the way that these things can collide, and also that sometimes you have to choose your battles. Okay, maybe you want to raise awareness, and maybe you just want to adhere while raising awareness that there's something very irresponsible about choosing to pay for in credit in what you are supposed to be paying with cash, and there's something very irresponsible about people not being able to buy their own basic needs, so housing, food, education, which is also basic needs, and it's even vacations, okay, transportation, vacations, to be exposed to new cultures, to new people, is something that is very basic, okay? Otherwise, your mind does not develop. Whether it's education with reading books, but reading books will only take you far enough, and you will also not have a good competitive advantage on your peers, because you will not know how to your nervous system and also your well-being. Okay, when you travel to different places, you're exposed to different bacteria, to biodiversity basically, and you need that to have good well-being. Okay, there are actually, when we talk about the tribe of Native Americans, a lot of them were killed, not just because Americans were cruel, but simply because Americans carried pests and carried ailments that the indigenous tribes did not know. And they just died from ailments that they did not have the medication to deal with, because they were never exposed to that biodiversity. Okay, they never traveled, or they never met people outside of their tribe. And so it's very easy to get sick when you encounter the strange. Okay, so you can say, okay, I want to raise awareness to that. Look, we should be able to do these things in cash. We should not get into debt, or maybe, if something very extravagant, let's say you want to travel, not business class, but to have your own plane, then you can save for that. But to travel, to meet new cultures, to meet new people, that should be something that is already, you pay for that in cash. A child should be able to buy property with their first salary as they work in their teenage, I don't know, in the 7-Eleven. That should be basic. Otherwise, how do we develop as humanity if we strive for the basis, huh? So that can be how hands-on experience can collide with, ideology. But this is the only in the red aspect that I see around this. It's an important red aspect, because as you are manifest the essence of your desire, okay, the essence of what you want to create, being informed about the power structure. You can also manifest, like I said, you can also manifest the desired reality. And as well, the having this desired, or reaching as close to this desired reality in your means, with your hands-on applied experience. Okay, so yeah, I can manifest having, every person who's beginning to just work for even the 7-Eleven, having to be being able to, buy their first land with the first salary. Like, I can manifest that. There's no problem with that. I can also manifest to have a good credit score. Right? I can also manifest to be able to deal with this world, with this real world, and as well manifest my desired reality. So think about it as you do, as you set your intentions with the new moon, and you're going to take action about them. You're going to reiterate those manifestations with the first crescent of the moon, which that's going to already be in Pisces, or between Pisces and Aries. So preferably next to Jupiter, you want to take action when the moon reaches the conjunction with Jupiter. But you need to look at where the aspects of the moon, see if it's in the blue, and so on and so forth. So the last in the blue, well, there is this beautiful, beautiful applying aspect between Mercury and Uranus that's just beginning. And this is something that I adore. Okay? These are two earth signs. So Mercury being practical communication, or the praxis revolving children and children's rights within a governmental organization, or hierarchy, or plutocracy. And Uranus retrograde in Taurus, reflecting on the nature of revolution, or also on the nature of Uranus and Taurus. For example, if you work the land and Taurus is land, and Saturn is agriculture. So if you think about turning the land or the bringing the land into the air, what is turning the land? It's basically bringing air into the land. That's very much Uranus in Taurus, okay? Bringing air into the land. Um, so you can think about how to make a land fertile as well, because the land needs water, but to absorb water, there has to be enough air. And also, I was thinking about bringing soil on air, like airplanes bringing soil from one place to another that adds to the biodiversity that can make infertile lands fertile, that can contribute to the immune system of, for example, children. Okay, because if the children play on the land or work on the land, here I was living in a um, neighborhood in southern Israel when I was living next to the university. So it was kind of like, I would guess, what people would call the project. And one of the family of the children had the children walking barefoot, just like everywhere. And one of my neighbors said, "You know what? These kids, they never get sick. They never got COVID. They never had a flu. I've never seen these kids sick, ever. They don't get sick." They'll just like go and with the dirt and with this and with that, and it's like, oh my god. And funnily enough, the neighbor had burger placements, so I found it to be amazing. And this is also part of what we learned when I did the training to be holistic health practitioner. And when I talked about hygiene, when I talked about the new moon in Capricorn, and how we desire to have hygiene, it's important to um, separate things, okay, both energetically and physically, so we can maintain boundaries, maintain our well-being, maintain a structure. There's good bacteria, there's bad bacteria. We want the good bacteria, and there's also dosages. So we want enough of the good bacteria and some a little of the bacteria that is challenging, that we can train our immune system and also train our soil. And I think this probably has to be the fourth or fifth time I mentioned the great example from Diana Rose. I heard it on the astrology podcast, and she talked about how the fertilizers that we use that are not organic are basically getting the soil to be infertile and the crops to be more sensitive to pests, for which we also use non-organic pesticides. Okay, if you, for example, this, my additions, if you, I learned from Indian people who do agriculture, is that if you use, for example, turmeric and cinnamon, they can be used both as fertilizers, natural fertilizers, also honey. If you do propagation, then honey, um, and as pesticides. And that's a great way to use for your plants. Now, when you enrich the soil and you have this soil coming from that, and that soil coming from that, and that soil coming from that, of course, the climate does change, and you'll have to take that into account. But if you've been living, let's say, like me, in a desert, and I've noticed there's humidity just because of pollution. So, changing up the soil, bringing air into the soil, or using technology or using planes to bring soil from one place to another can be an excellent solution to planting new crops, to being able to grow, to being able to make new crops native, as well as to increase the biodiversity and the immune system of anybody on the land, everybody who works the land. So that's children, so that's people. We have to, of course, do it cautiously. So this is one of the things that I see with the Uranus, technology, chaos, innovation, the storm. Okay, turning over the soil so we have enough air. Okay, the space, having enough land, having the space. Um, to manage, my emotions through bodily reactions or sensations, to voice my voice, to scream, to dance ecstatically. Both contributes, like rain dance, and exerts, ecstatic dance or ecstatic states release traumatic energy from the body. And so you become a better, more civil human being to live with if you have enough space to live, enough land to stomp on, okay, to dance ecstatically on. This is one of the things we use for healing. Even if you're the type of person for whom certain pills work, it's very likely they're not going to continue to work forever, and instead of, turning into like I want to say turning into a crop, you want to incorporate ecstatic dancing, standing barefoot on the land when something grows in the land, growing plants, um, movement, screaming. When you have a place where you can scream, you can shake or kick without hurting anybody, you can let the emotions out of the body, sense, okay, go back to your senses. That is going to, if the are pills, is going to make them work better and easier, and B, if you're like me and pills don't work for you to the point that you're like nearly that they nearly killed you, then that's your go-to. Okay, that's your go-to. Um, so that's a great thing. That's in the this Mercury trade words. I had a colleague that was one of my teachers for in my training, and she used to grow plants um, and put words on them. So literally every plant had a word. And it was both a reminder for her, so like joy, happiness, whatnot, and also kind of like a metaphysical or magical practice. Okay, so that's one way you could work with that. A technology agreements to do also with labor, um, and yeah, that's the kind of things I see happening with it. So when you think about what am I starting this new moon, take that blue as well, okay? Because the moon, after it touches on Jupiter, it will touch on Uranus while it is still growing. So it will not touch on Mercury when it's growing, but you will have a waxing, okay, the moon growing, which is where you want to increase things, even when Uranus is there. So Uranus can be a place where you take that sudden action. We have a sudden idea about how to apply things. So, and the last in the blue aspect, and the last aspect is the lunation sextile in Jupiter. So this is the moon touching on this Jupiter and Aries. From a lovely point of view, Jupiter is in the first decan of Aries. That's Mars. That's the Mars one. That's I'm positive. It's Mars, and then I heard it's Sun, and then it's Venus. So Sun exalts in Aries. So that depends on, I guess, the systems of decans you're working with. So Jupiter is in the Mars region of Aries, and Mars is in the Rohini Nakshatra in Gemini. And that would be in the Mercury phase of Gemini. So what is Mars? What is Jupiter great at in Aries? And I think it was Adam Ellenbus that titled the video "Why Are We Not Feeling Jupiter in Aries Yet?" And probably like I didn't watch the video because I only watch videos of colleagues uh, after I do my own, so that I do my own stuff and then I watch other people. So I didn't watch the video, but I assume he probably meant Mars retrograde. And if the ruler of Jupiter is retrograde, so of course we're not going to feel Jupiter in Aries just yet. It's still thinking about it. Okay, it's still reflecting. And so it can feel frustrated even rather than direct action. Now Mars is already direct. And so Jupiter in Aries, in the Mars region of Aries, is optimistic about its sense. It has a sense of direction, and it is optimistic about things. Okay, it's doing it way big. You know the little Kim one, doing it way big. Literally doing it way big. I don't mean that in the little Kim way, but definitely when you talk about taking a project and doing it big. Whatever it is you're starting there, doing it big. Okay, and I think about myself. I literally started reaching out to people, and I was like, I'm reaching out for everybody that I desire to have on my channel. It's like I don't think about how many fans they have, or how big is their work or whatnot. It's like, do I want to speak with this person about this topic? Good, let's initiate. Let's write it. Let's put it in the comments. Let's put it in the Twitter and whatnot. Um, and that's it's not the new moon. Like, we're not at that energy. We're in a waning moon. But this is something that is probably going to begin to build deeper. Definitely things to do with spirit of matter, because hey. And I'm also thinking to bringing about bringing people with dealing with what the West would call mental disorders, and what I call non-dual experiences, into my channel, and have a multicultural conversation about mental health, because hey, the Aquarius is also in my 12th. So definitely that, definitely science, or bringing open dialogue experts, perhaps I would like to do that. Um, and still bringing the astrological context to things. So whatever you're starting there, you will have the desire and you will have the possibility to tap into doing it way big. Remember, Chiron is also in Aries. So there can be a wounded healer sense of new beginning. You're doing it way big. Yes, it can also reiterate it on times you initiated and things didn't go well. Times you initiate, you were let down. Things you wanted to initiate but you never did. You could be doing that now. So Jupiter magnifies. And Jupiter also means you're going to take action on what you're doing. And you will desire to gain wealth from that, because Mars is wealth hungry. If you have any wealth blocks and you're listening, you know what? I'm going to post it either today and tomorrow, because if you're having any wealth blocks, if you're having any aversion to material wealth, to luxury, to all these things, I want you to know that Lamborghini is an ethically sourced cars. That means that the employees who make Lamborghini do all, first of all, they work in Italy. And this is I'm not getting any dividends from that. I am thinking about reaching to Lamborghini and maybe asking for dividends. Who knows? Like, you might see a video of me doing, fast riding in Italy and saying, "Oh, buy this car." But I noticed when I had this thing with myself, when I was looking, for example, I wanted to open a crystal shop, and then I thought, okay, how do I know that my crystals are ethically sourced? And I want to travel to the place where, and this is also how I discovered that Seychelles, but also Madagascar is on my moon line. And if you go to my videos where I talk about crystals and I talked about rose quartz, I talk about the Madagascar one. I didn't know why it was, okay? I had no idea in astrocartography. And when I looked deeper into it, I realized that this is on my moon line. So this particular type of rose quartz helps me more, because this rose quartz is on my moon line. It connects my Venus sensual nature to my moon, okay? My emotional nature. It's very healthy for me, okay? Um, where for you, you might have a different experience with that. You might say, oh, well, just any rose quartz is good. And yeah, so I was thinking about these things, and I was thinking about cars, and then I was laughing at myself, and I was like, oh my gosh, actually Lamborghini is an ethically sourced car. Because I began to think about how much would I have to pay for a crystal if it was ethically sourced. Yeah, a lot of the crystals that, and some of them are ethically sourced, but it's like, I have no way to know that. I have no way to, even if I ask for certification, I have no way to know that. I haven't been there, I haven't seen the employees, I haven't, like, okay, and even that, I don't know if it's a show. Like, I can ask the crystals if they'll tell me the truth, but that's about it. And sometimes you would have considerations to buy something that's not, the most well resourced. Or just manifest on that, or pray for the people. So I was just joking with myself, and I'm like, Lamborghini is an ethically sourced car. The employees work in Italy. They're passionate about what they're doing. They're getting good working conditions.
I know that there are good chances nobody's getting exploited when I buy a Lamborghini. Oh my God! Why, isn't that amazing? Okay, so think about luxury as something that can be ethical. Luxury as something that can be in alignment with higher values. So anything you do, okay, the sense of direction, the action, Mars, that you're gonna take on that is going to be involved, whether you like it or not, with the kind of wealth that, you know, and it depends on what culture you grew up at, the kind of wealth that you were taught to hate or envy or believe you can't achieve, or believe that the only way you can achieve is like being in a cult where, all women are trash and are supposed to serve you, or all men are trash and are supposed to, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, I ain't gonna say no names, but I don't need to say no names. So you can actually you like switch that mindset and think like, hey, if my example helps you, Lamborghini is an ethically sourced car. If you want to buy a car, you want to aim for a Lamborghini because a Lamborghini is ethically sourced. It's a good car. It's going to hold you for some time. You can drive as fast as you want with it and as slow as you want with it. And you know that there is a very probable chance that nobody is getting abused from the manufacturer to your home garage. Isn't that lovely? How is your house built? Who is building your house? Okay? Do you care about the people who are building your house? And when I think about it, I have Gemini in my fourth house. And just a couple of days ago, I was going to plant some plants in the sun area, and right across my yard, there is a house building, and I was just talking with them because they wanted sand from the lawn, and we just wanted to make sure that we're not interrupting with each other. And then the person who made the structure, who built that, um, was there, and I told him, well, like I just told him, I was like, oh my gosh, you're doing a really great job. And because I've been watching the house being built and all the stages, is so fun. Oh my god, it's just so fun. And then he said, well, you like it because like I'm the person who made that. I'm the person who's responsible of the construction. I was like, wow, this is so amazing. And then I realized, oh, I actually have a construction guy. I'm actually watching him work, and I can actually take a look at this place and see, do I like it? What were the problems with the construction? I can actually have a name for someone for when, if I manifest building my own house, for when I want to build my house. It is just across the yard. I was just doing Saturn thing, okay, agriculture, looking for the sun, okay, giving sun to the place and blessing the people who build buildings. So also think about, other structures, like for example, Dubai and Qatar are known for that there is exploitation, but they are not the only places. Nearly every construction worker deals with bad work, like bad work or danger at the work, or life risking job. And I know that, especially I'm very aware of that, especially whenever we talk about women's rights, getting out of violence and so on and so forth. And there's a every once in a while someone will go and say, yeah, but nobody talks about life risking jobs for men. And I'm like, gee, they're right. They're absolutely right. We absolutely need to talk about it. So think about when you're building, let's say, a mansion. You could do it. I don't know. I don't want to say no names way, but Qatar, Dubai are most known for that. But I don't know if like the trade centers were not built in the same way, um, where people are badly paid and screwed up and whatnot. Or alternatively, your wealth can give you the ability to control, okay, to manage and see how much are the employees being paid. Did they have good working conditions? Are they? Did you have the money to do that? Okay, so think about Mars in Rohini Nakshatra. How I'm gonna use that. Okay, see this happening in real life. Like this is manifestation, this talk, but this is right now removing the blocks from manifesting that because it's waning. It's waning when I'm recording, but I'll definitely reiterate that when the moon is growing, and You can think about, oh, all those fancy houses that you were taught to hate. Well, guess what? Having the wealth to build such a house with having people being well paid will do so many miracles to the world. So that hunger for material wealth does not have to go with that being on the account of someone, but actually that being genuinely good for you and the world. This is important, this is an important teaching for you to listen to even right now when the moon is waning, so you can do all kind of releases of blockages around abundance practices, like watching my video with that intention, watching it over and over and over and over and over and over again. Okay, to keep that Lamborghini example in your mind, keep that construction example in your mind, start blessing construction workers around you, start looking for ethically sourced luxury products. Start looking at the nitty gritty of things. Okay, what action are you taking when you think about great wealth? Because this action is related to why you act on this new moon is because you want to gain luxurious wealth. You can be conscious of it, and maybe it's in your 12th house, you're like unconscious of it. You want to get the kind of car that you used to hate, okay? You want to get the kind of car that you're only being told to that you will desire when you have a midlife crisis, okay? You want to get the kind of house that you've been told that is not, why should anybody live in such a big house? Like, why do I need that? This is too fancy, or you want to get the kind of gold that you would have Cleopatra wearing, okay, stuff like that. You want to get the kind of fancy gold that you thought looks ugly on people, or the kind of chains or whatnot, or bling or whatnot that you thought look gross and gross, like those big, that's what you want. With Mars and Rohini Nakshatra, I have Rao there. And like I repent a lot of the things I thought about money. I repent a lot of the things I thought about wealth. And I'm learning how that can be achieved in a way that contributes to me in society. So that I won't have like a Pyrrhus win or an empty win and so on and so forth. So as far as it's in my control, but but you need to understand that why you're acting in this new moon, why are you starting what you're starting, or why are you acting upon your vision? Because you will be acting with Mars and Gemini. And it can be an act of speech. You see here me talking, okay, when Mars is being reflective. Right now Mars is retrograde and Mercury is retrograde. So being thinking reflective, but even when Mars is direct, it's an act of speech. Mars Gemini is an act of speech. I'm thinking about the sparrow, or like the spear. If you think about martial arts, then those, spears that you have this momentum and you throw them. But think about the spear as the momentum for you're throwing the spears. You're throwing the spear at the goal, at the aim, not at an enemy necessarily, although Rohini is victorious. But this spear, let's say, is going to hit the ground, or it's going to hit the land, and this is your land. You're going to reach as far, and that's going to, going to be fit reach as far with that spear, and that point there, with the radius of, I don't know, 100 kilometers, that's how many acres you have to do your thing, your vision on concrete land. It's an act of speech. It's also the hands throwing a spear, so the hands throwing an object. Hopefully, a spear to your land, not hurting anybody. Yes, we'll see those things too, but um, on how you can use this energy in your benefit, and so on and so forth. So, if you are from like a Nordic country, or from Scandinavia, or from Netherlands or Germany, or any place where you're taught not to desire the wealth that Rohini Nakshatra brings, or that you're taught that is pompous or fake, or like fake flattery. Um, think about those examples I just gave. Okay, think about Lamborghini is an ethically sourced car. Think about the kind of working and construction and safety for your construction workers that you can have when you're building a house yourself with your wealth, and deciding on who the construction workers are and visiting the site and see that they have good employment conditions, and that they're safe. And I know that in some of your countries, then I feel like the people who do construction, they have their safety, but even then, like, don't be so certain about that. Um, and think about how that wealth can actually contribute to a bigger vision that is genuine, that is real, because you act on the desire. Okay, you want to be victorious in the terms of gaining that wealth. And of course, you want to do this ethically, you want to do this morally, if you are the type of person for whom ethics and moral matters. But you also don't want to deny your own need to have that luxurious something something. On this new moon, your Mars wants the luxury. Your Mars acts on. You may have a great dream. Let's say you have a dream to, I don't know, save the children that have been subdued to trafficking. Okay, and you decide you're going to have a TV show about that, because this is a very Mars Mercury. You're going to have a TV show. Everybody watch. While you act on this, you might think it's dangerous. I could die. I this. I that. You might. The reason why you act for it, you want the money, power, and fame. Okay, and it doesn't mean that that desire has to counter your results. You might get into these dangerous places just because those are going to get you money, power, and fame, and they're also going to save the children, and they're also going to do this, and they're also going to do that. You don't have to portray an image of somebody holier than the Pope. All you have to do is acknowledge your desire and make sure you chase it not on the account of anybody, but alongside and in competence with the interests of other people, as long as they're benefic, as long as they don't are not predators to you. And so, while that may be hard to accept, if you want to be effective, you have to acknowledge that you want wealth right now. The reason you're taking that picture, the reason you're making this act of speech, the reason you're desirous of acting on your dreams. Okay, whatever your dreams are in the Gemini house. In the Aquarius house. Your dreams are in the Cancer house. Your dreams are in the Leo house. But while you're acting on them, whether consciously or not, you want the money, power, fame. Money, power, fame. Okay, what Ruhina Nakshatra, you want the victory. You want to be victorious over that. You want to get the crown. And you desire that. There ain't nothing wrong with that as long as you do that ethically. So, those are the aspects that we are having here in this lunation in general. Now, on a mundane level, again, the aspects are naturally harmonious. Ideologies, dreams might be in tension with what needs to be done on a hands-on basis. Okay, when I planted, I worked my garden, and I transplanted things to the earth. Like, we were in the house, and then I transplanted things to the earth. And after I was recording a Rahu in Aries video that I will put in February if I will publish it, but it's set out to the end of February. So before we get the first eclipse in Aries, and I was talking about boots on land. I was talking about the danger of wars, the nature of the good and the difficult nature of the dealing with Aries, the sense of self, people being tied to the sense of self, desiring autonomy, identities that to assert them you need to confront, to set boundaries, to act martially. Identity as do you, okay, do act Mars, you yourself, okay, Aries, and so on, and many other things. Then after that, I was working the land, and then I was stepping on the land barefoot, and I was like, oh, may these be the only boots on ground we'll ever need in this land. I'm living in Israel, okay, / Palestine. So you can imagine the moment, the spiritual moment that it was for me, and how good it is to have this blessing on this land. Like, how good it is to reiterate the blessing, okay? to have to do grounding technique with you working the ground and stepping naked on a fertile soil where something grows in and say, may this be the only boots on land on ground that we'll ever need on this land or on any land. That's lovely. Um, Definitely on a mundane level, this can definitely be where Jupiter can have like this idea that I had of, may these be the only boots on land we'll ever need. And then there is the hands-on experience of what it takes to get there, what it takes to get there in praxis, and how can we accommodate for that, um, being as close to our vision as possible. If you learn the Eastern type of, at least the philosophy of the Eastern type of martial arts, a lot of the philosophy is set such that your objective is not to kill your enemy, not to take down your enemy, not even to scare your enemy, but especially the internal or the mixed style of martial arts or Easterns is actually to alchemize your own energy and bring excess energy down to the earth. Okay, and nearly every emotion that I see is ending with bringing your hands next to your shoulders, okay, facing down, and then slowly exhaling and taking the palms down towards the earth, okay, releasing the energy towards the earth. So you can increase, you can do a chaos, okay, you can do a wind, a storm, with the energy, because the storm aligns the elements. Some people say that when the elements align, there is a storm, but also that the other say that a storm aligns the elements, okay, water, fire, earth, air, metal for those who work with the five elements, okay, more Chinese traditions, wood. So when you do that storm and then you bring that excess energy down to the ground, that's that, okay? You ended the battle, because the battle was just imbalancing energy. And if you just look at things that I combat is imbalancing energy, and internally I manage my own energy and bring the excess energy down to the ground. Of course, I can take the energy of my opponent and do alchemy with it. But even when I draw, like even when, so knock down, so to say, in English you would say knock down, but like bring down my enemy or something like that, it's just, I don't intend to kill them. I just intend to set the energy so that it's balanced, and we're standing on fertile ground. We're both standing on fertile ground, because this is also when you think about international relations, and there are three main theories to balance of powers in international relations. One is that there is a natural desire for all nations, and I guess from that people, to gain as much power as possible. And this is a natural desire to expand. Okay, it's like, funnily enough, the Jupiterian era is just expand. Um, Another one is that there is a natural desire to be, imperial, but this is not because we want to expand in as much as that we're just afraid that some other nations would like to do so. And if only if you are the strongest, then you have the power. Other than that, you're always in fear, but also when you're strongest, you have to maintain your power. And, this is like Hitler. We talk about when he talked about the Lebens, I don't remember, like the living space for the Irish and so on and so forth. So that was that approach. But you have to understand, this is not only Hitler. There are a lot of states that think like that. There are a lot of politicians that think like that. A lot of people and theorists who think like that. And then there is the third one, and the third one actually says that you want to aspire to an equilibrium. For example, the third one would say that if we all have A bombs, then Iran should have one too. Okay, it doesn't believe in rational and irrational players. It just believes that when we have an equilibrium, then it doesn't matter that I have an A bomb and you have an A bomb. What matters is that we all feel safe, because we all are sort of like balanced in our power. Um, while I think that nuclear energy could be put to greater use, and even when it's put to greater use, we still are afraid of leakage. And I talk to, in general, there is the danger of leaking of nuclear energy when you have nuclear energy sites. And like this is real. People around nuclear energy sites get higher rates of cancer even when there's no leak, and even when they are not themselves employed in this site. Um, so this is just something that's happening. And I believe that even for good, like nuclear energy used to light cities, is also problematic because we have not solved the leakage problem, and we may be greenwashed to think that we will when Pluto reaches Aquarius. So don't buy that so quickly. Unfortunately, these energies are not safe enough. And yes, there is nuclear leakage. So it's not to a degree that it's going to destroy all the biodiversity of an area, but it is something that increases cancer rates within people living in a closer range to any nuclear site. Not going to say anything more about that. I'm saying that in general for all countries. No, disclaimer. Um, but what I am seeing with kind of this aspect is that we may have the propensity for all three approaches. Okay, so if you're a Eastern martial artist, you were probably taught that you don't want to put down your enemy, you don't want to put them to sleep, you just want to, you know, make sure you act from a stand of power, and as you align the energy, also, if your enemy directs energy at you, you're also going to alchemize that. So they'll see that any energy they put into you goes into something good. If they don't want to create something good, they should not put energy into you. Okay? It goes into building something. So, for example, politically, if I take a look at the settlements in Israel, okay, Palestine. So this is a historical thing. It's not just the right wing, left wing. Actually, the left wing, if I'm not mistaken, started that, and then now the right wing is being accused of continuing that. But the philosophy of some of the leaders was, if somebody attacks us, somebody brings in, what we call terror and some other people call guerrilla. What we do is not to destroy their villages. Sometimes they do also that, so that's a problematic argument. But for every attack that they give us, we're not going to destroy something, we're going to build a new settlement in their land. Um, it's highly conspicuous, but if I think of before Israel was born, we had, for example, even in our family, we had a person that came from Thailand that was assisting my grandmama, rest in peace. And she told me that the worst strategy for them to remain peace, if somebody triggers or risks the security of the nation or security, then their entire village would be not just destroyed in terms of the buildings, but completely ravished and killed. And that was the war strategy. And Israeli, I would be and less than 7 years to approve building or setting even a tent in your land that costs something that is the equivalent of $5 million for an American. Okay, for the tiniest, like probably less than an acre, and that something like I much prefer to settle Israel than to settle, what's outside of the current borders of Israel. That's my position. Um, but I also see the logic of security people who preferred building a settlement to taking a whole village and killing everyone. Now, I know that data and so and so and so on, things you can challenge with this argument. Please, I understand the position of where I'm talking from, understand the limitation of what I can say, and understand the limitations of implications of, whatnot. So it's not that I'm ignorant, always, because I can be ignorant about many things, but it's also that, hey, there's only so much we can talk about. And it's also important to understand the people that we are criticizing, and rightfully so, were acting in the framework. And Mars Gemini is a lot about, when you think about the ruler of Jupiter, is a lot about framing the options. So the framing of the options that was available for the people who made decisions, let's say 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 70 years ago, was different. And when the framework that the possibilities that you're being presented are so and so, then you pick the better option from what you have. Um, and sometimes when the universe presents you two possibilities, an ultimatum is two possibilities, create a third option. Jupiter in Aries can do that. Jupiter in Aries is where you created the two options. You have two options, okay? You either settle their land or you're going to destroy their villages. You know what? I'm going to create a third option. I'm going to settle my land, and damn right, they're going to help me build it and get good paid and settle their land. What you say about that? That we have a third option. So the probably the most feared Israeli president was Shimon Peres, because he had similar agendas. Okay, he had an agenda, what you call the New Middle East, is to basically have people building stuff together. He was the most feared by all of our enemy countries. He was the most feared because he created a third option. And if you know anything about politics around guerrilla, is that any guerrilla, this is not Israel Palestine, so like any guerrilla, is that when you have colonizing / army regime or whatnot, and after that, don't worry, I will do the 12 and I will have like a prompt of when I start doing that, or if you're watching, then you can have that prompt. So anywhere where you have colonizing people, then you have guerrilla, okay? You have guerrilla, you have resistance. That guerrilla will manage to base itself on intensifying religion or fundamentalism, not religion, but fundamentalism. So fundamentalistic stance to resistance to ideologies. Whichever the ideologies are, okay, if Uganda decides to invade Texas, then Texas would be fundamental. That's pretty much what it says. Next thing is that those fundamentalistic leaders, they take care of the medication, the education, and the nourishment. Okay, so they provide food, they provide education, fundamentalistic one, of course. This is how you get hate crimes by children, okay? Like children who don't even know what rape is invade houses and rape people. It's so fucked up. And unfortunately, the most guerrilla warriors are children that are being human trafficked to do guerrilla war. You see that in Africa, but this is not the only place. And you also, they control the medication, okay? So the education, the medication, and the nourishment, the basic needs. And so you have to adhere to the guerrilla, even if you have different opinions. Even if you do see a third option, you understand that even the people who are in the land of the occupiers, they must see a third option. Then you have to get food, you have to adhere. You cannot show that you disagree with the fundamental ideologies that you're being indoctrinated with. And so this is just how the dialectics of this, war crimes act. Jupiter in Aries, unfortunately, with Mars on the wealth, okay, the Rohini Nakshatra can also mean that the country can invade another country, or use the media in a way to gain wealth, okay, to gain luxury. Our family, by the way, I didn't think to talk about it, but I'm Jungblood, and my mother is an author. And one of the books she wrote had to do with something that she just imagined, okay? She's just like, okay, this must be so. And she wrote about how the money comes to the leaders of organizations, also the guerrilla and terror organizations, and they have a lot of money. But the people who are actually needing their help, they're poor, they don't have good housing, they don't have good conditions, so they're being provided for, but only so much so that they kept poor, and they keep blaming only the party who is colonializing or ruling or occupying the land, and don't turn to the leaders of their organizations that send the children to be killed or to be suicide bombers, teenagers. Like most people who are actually sent to the bombing are young, like they're sometimes teenagers even. Um, and they don't look to the corruption within those guerrilla organizations. Okay, some if you're receiving budget from Qatar, you are fundamentally, in terms of your equipment, you're an army. Legislatively, you're a guerrilla organization. And so while the legislation has to be accommodated for, we're also not dealing with the type of guerrilla of, hey, we grow, Molotov or whatnot, like Molotov bottles, or like, no, you're getting freaking missiles that can destroy a country, with the wealth from Qatar. So where is the food for the people? And you're getting educated abroad. And when the book was written before I went to university, but when I actually visited Hebron, as part of like the One Voice, I saw a person who was Palestinian and he studied in Britain, and I could not help but thinking about the hero of my mama's book, and he was speaking like he was not in any way planning terror or guerrilla, not at all, not at all. Okay, but that reminded me of how that person came. He spoke better English than me, and had all the mannerisms of like British people, and I was like, whoa, this is a very charming man. And I could not help but understanding that beyond this education lie or are interrelated a myriad of interests, and some of the voices of the Fuga are also exploitative, and so there's that framing. Um, Using the framing, using the people, educating the people. Okay, there's a lot of money revolving around the place where there's terror, and there's guerrilla. In some places, there's a lot of coverage for certain conflicts and not for other conflicts. Um, and also, with this Jupiter in Aries and Mars in Rohini Nakshatra, we may have the type, on a mundane level, the type of expansive and expansive action that is derived from gaining wealth. Now, that can be ethical. It doesn't have to be, like I said, with the Lamborghini example. It can also be crooked. Okay? It can also, although this chart in particular in itself doesn't necessarily imply crooked, but we do see the conflict between where the Jupiter is and where that Mercury is. Okay? Um, like I say, when the world presents you with an ultimatum, what is actually asking for you is to create a third option. And what we need now is a lot of people creating that third option that's actually in favor of humanity. And so on a mundane level, yes, Mars is 1 degree from somebody gaining a victory that can be empty, can be a Pyrrhus victory, can be a small victory, but it can also be a victory. Okay, it can also be a genuine victory. Somebody's gaining fame and wealth, and that fame and wealth is not making, well, it's separating. Mars is separating from a sextile with Jupiter, and it's within range. Okay, it's separating from a sextile with Jupiter, so that win has the ability to be in alignment with a certain ideology or with a certain philosophy, but there's an inconjunct between Mars and Mercury, the ruler of Mars. Okay, it's 150 degrees here, Mercury in 8th, Mars in 8. So it's 150 degrees. And so Mars, Mercury, fast action, something, Mercury rules 2. So something 2, Mars rules severing. So deciding on 2, okay? So somebody wins, or somebody wins, but the portrayal in the media, or how, the message of authorities around that win, um, can be conflicting with the ideology behind that win. Somebody wins, but what they had to do to actually get to that win is not in alignment with the ideology of why they wanted to win. But then again, that high philosophy, what's undermining that and what actually drives them to act on that philosophy is the desire for wealth. Okay, so somebody has natural, like on the mundane level, it's like somebody has oil, somebody has gas, and so why not, save some people? Why not, save some people who are in a fight there? Or alternatively, we need that group of people because we want to maintain or want to clear ourselves from national debt, and so if our team wins, we can do that in some way, shape, or form, like slavery. Um, and so those are still, like, those dangers are still there. Um, Something is beginning on this new moon. So there is an action plan. But the reason somebody's going to act, Mars is in Gemini here, they're going to act from the motive of gaining luxurious wealth. Not just wealth, not just enough, okay? Way more than abundance, way more than enough. The money, the fame, the goals, the gold, okay? That's why somebody's acting here on a mundane level. On a personal level, it could be you, but it's also something that you can align with. You can watch the astrology, you can align it with ethics. You can say, I want this luxury, but I want it in an ethical way. I want this victory, but I want it in an ethical way. I'm going to think about how do I match my ideology and to save my ideology and have it applied in a way that I don't sacrifice what I believe in that much. Okay, but the reason I believe what I believe in, where in Jupiter being in Aries now, is because this that gives me the money, so I can adjust my belief, adjust my mindset. It's a good time to release your money blocks on a personal level. It's also a good time to be aware of when we're being told that somebody liberates, Jupiter Aries liberates somebody, but what they're actually doing is just conquering the goods for themselves. Okay? Um, or somebody wants to liberate themselves or have a liberation and a sense of autonomy or self-determination that I talked about with Aries, and they they believe, or they say that philosophy that this is what they want, but Mars is actually wanting the good wealth. What they actually want is to be wealthy. And it's not a bad thing. Okay, you just need to acknowledge it. And you need to think, how do you do this ethically? Not on the account of other people, but because Mars is in Rohini Nakshatra and Mars is approaching Aldebaran, there will be a victory over something, a victory over an opponent. Okay, a decision between two peoples. Okay, whose land is it? This person's, that person, with the type of land. If it is a land, then it is an Aries land. It can be desert, it can be barren land. Okay, so who gets to do something with this land? These people or these people. And it's going to be decided on people. And somebody says they want to liberate themselves, or somebody says they want to liberate somebody, but actually they want that land. So you need to be aware of that. Anything more I want to say? So in the background we have Venus supplying to conjunct Saturn on Deneb Algadi. Saturn is on Deneb Algadi here. And this is a bit of, although it's not creating any aspects with anything around, whatever these guys are doing, they're not aware that Saturn is on Deneb Algedy. And Deneb Algedy is 24 tropical Aquarius, is about, um, basically, it's about natural law that applies to property, that applies to material gains. It's the nature of Jupiter and Saturn. It is the type of, it's the type of cup that will save your property from thieves, unless those thieves are Robin Hoods. Okay? So if you haven't been gaining your wealth ethically, then that's the type of, like Deneb Algedy might help you to fix your ethics. Um, but also, what I noticed, and that was something I didn't expect when I began to work with Deneb Algedy, was that if you are in a, God forbid, a situation when you need, okay, fortunately I'm not in this situation. I'm privileged to not be in a situation where I have currently to steal anything, and I'm so thankful and so proud and so appreciative of this privilege that I indulge in, like, and being so grateful for. That being said, when I was in between houses, I was in this situation, and I noticed that I was so shocked that I would work with Zeneb Ality, and it would show me where to steal from. Who is, and when I asked why, and then I was shown, like, why, why is this only this supermarket everywhere? Why don't you see any supermarket any other place? Why do you see only this supermarket and not any other place? Okay, you see, you understand that there is a problem here. Okay, so this is where I would get the food. Um, or some other things that have to do with how a business is running. Okay, um, and how, like a lot of things that I learned about how to manage a business, how to run a business, how to be a business person, what to pay attention to. Then I was taught that. Okay, like, and sometimes it was not around stealing. Sometimes it was just around, oh, this person should have given you a gift by now. It also taught me, like, no, you need to give this gift. Oh no, you don't need to give this discount. No, you need to ask that price, not that price. Okay, um, and that can be a bit of a Robin Hood. So although Mercury rules thieves, Mercury just rules thieves. He doesn't rule Robin Hoods necessarily. Um, it rules tricksters, it rules thieves. Jupiter, Saturn, okay, the Saturn rules sort of karma or judgment, and Jupiter rules also the sense of judgment. In Hebrew, it is called tzedek, which literally means justice. Okay, um, and um, and then if you're, God forbid, I hope for you to never have to steal, but if you're, God forbid, in a situation where you have to steal, then it can also show you how to do it the most ethically. Okay, who are the people that you want to steal from? Okay, one of the things that I did was I was going to an investment company, and I wanted to pitch them something like a Babylon resort, which would be around different people from different social status sharing hotel, or having like hotels or places that are for the people who didn't have housing and for the people who come for vacation, so they can have ideas together and so on and so forth. And then I would need to think of how to keep human trafficking at bay, and how to do many things. But I said, well, I want to pitch that. And there was an big investment company, and I went to their offices, and I was basically guided to go in the hour that was before they received the food. They ordered food, and it was before anybody came. I went into the kitchen, and I was in channeling. Okay, so literally, take that. Okay, so I was taking that. It was good food. It was home cooked, and I was not running away. I went outside where the people smoke, go out for a cigarette, and I was say, now start eating. And I realized I was waiting for someone, and I was like basically waiting for the person that I was stealing the food from to pitch. Because if I come to pitch to you something to help people who don't have, who have homeless, or you don't have food, and I want to pitch you an idea, and I took your lunch. Now you listen. Now I got your attention. Are you hungry now? You have to order lunch. You have to wait. You have to wait a bit for your lunch. Okay, but this for me, this is my lunch. I don't have no lunch. You can't order a lunch. Okay. Now I got your attention. Look, I didn't come here just to steal your food. I have an idea of what to do about it. Okay. That is also something that not only Deneb Algadi, but also Deneb Algadi could do. Okay. Um, it's a tough work. Like people, it's very Saturn, like Saturn Jupiter together. It's the idea, the philosophy, but it's also the grind. Putting in the grind. When I was in between two homes, I was doing these things for sometimes 20 hours a day in meditation, in practice, in this, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm working like like Elon Musk or something, but ethically. Um, so this Venus Saturn, Venus is also values, it's also cars, it's also things of art, it's also the rules for Saturn, rules to do with women. So this conjunction, this applied conjunction, it's in the background. It's not making any aspect to it, so it's currently not affecting anything. But the moon, just as just with the new moon, 2.5 days from now, it will meet. It will meet Saturn. It will meet this conjunction. Again, I talked about this in my previous video. When I was doing the Venus in Aquarius, then I talked about this conjunction. And that to me says that there is a policeman in the sky. You can't do what you want with the property. You cannot do what you want with the women. Okay? And now that in wars, women get hurt a lot. Had rape in Ukraine and many other places. We have shootings at women's genitals and breasts in Iran. We like really, and like you really think that won't have consequences alongside the game? Do you really think that won't have consequences? And this is what is Saturn Moon Venus on Deneb Algadi. Okay, Deneb Algadi is not in itself saving people from like saving women. That is more algal, but it is the law. Okay, it is the law. It also means that women who took advantage of the law, or women who were disrespectful, for example, they're almost like women offenders. That's also their like, money time. If they had been doing things that are not ethical, or they have been growing wealth in a way that is unethical, in a way that is on the account of someone instead of together with someone. I'm not talking about survival. Okay, I'm talking about growing. Then Amalgadi wealth is growing wealth. Okay, Saturn wealth is that long sustained growth. That is, Saturn can grow you a lot of wealth. It's just going to take dedications. So those women might be in for a kind of, summoning, judgment call. I'm not saying they're going to die, but definitely like either, something around the world. Somebody will have to change something. And the moon is going to touch that. So whatever happens on the mundane level, I'm not going to say that it's all going to be reversed and no bad things will happen. I'm just saying there are these forces that can be difficult, and there are these forces that are also policing, that are also giving boundaries, that are also, Saturn and Deneb Algadi accentuates the nature of Saturn, the rules, dedication, adhering to the rules, letting go. Okay, it's also end, also death. It's also growing wealth. So Venus, Moon, Saturn can actually be wealth talisman, growing your wealth as a woman, for example, rules in favor of women growing wealth, rules protecting women's wealth as well, rules protecting women's wealth as well. Was more the Venusian. It can be around cars, it can be around, sisterhood maybe. It can be art, music, so creative rights. Okay, creative rights, wealth from music, wealth from something creative that you do, wealth from the artwork that you do. Women having land, people having land, because Venus also rules Venus. Agriculture rights, kid. I'm thinking about the farmers in Netherlands. Okay, that there can be something challenging, something, but Saturn also is ruling the witchcraft they recently found. So thanks to Chris Warnock and quoting Lily, and so which like witches that are not male or female that are doing magic unethically. Okay, this can be a bit of their money time. Okay, they can be deflected. They can be deflected. The magic can be deflected. I remember about I think a year ago when Caitlin Koppel finally opened about something that she was experiencing. Say, oh, people said or people said that they were feeling things or experiencing things, and she was working with Dana Balgadi, and so she always had this Dana Balgadi symbol and so on. And what she realized is that then a Balgadi will deflect. Like if you come at, just, I also work with that. I also work with alcohol, so it's like, yeah. Um, but then a Balgadi will deflect. And so sometimes it's, if you have been unkind to somebody or have sent energy their way that's not beneficial and they work with Dana Balgadi, you might get in trouble. Okay, if you had, unconscious motives, not unconscious, sorry, if you had unkind motives, you can get deflected. So this is also what Dana Balgadi does. It deflects that negativity which is sent to it. So it's also good protection from a sort of psychic attack. For example, for me, it is in the 12th house. So Dana Balgadi is wonderful to deflect anything that would try to bother me mentally or I go directly for I'll go to that, but because of the nature of what I deal with, but or dealt with. So, but also then about this, like he's a part, he's a friend, is always there, is like it's doing his good job, and it makes sure that you're doing things ethically. Has been doing things unethically, doing things out of alignment, they're called in to change their actions or else. Okay, or they will get implications. They've been chronically doing that, they will get implications to these actions. And you also need to consider that on a personal level. Okay, ask to correct your thinking, ask to correct your course of action into such that is in alignment with what is for your well-being and not on the account of people needlessly. In a acting well, if you're doing things correctly, you might be not only victorious, but it's the type of victory that is fulfilling on all levels of being. And Mars has the potential to be fulfilling on all levels of being. It rolls over the mind, the head, Aries, the head of the baby, and carnal desires, the ignition, and the fixed water sign Scorpio. Get deep psychology, sensuality, the sex organs, the blood, iron. Okay, so you could be, not to the bone is Saturn, but you could really be flesh and blood satisfied, flesh and blood and mind satisfied. People whose sexuality is related a lot with the Scorpio, they might be the type of person who looks for a body, mind, and spirit union. Okay, they might be very sexual, but not the type that you can just get on with, but only if you fulfill their body, mind, heart, and soul. Um, and so Mars has the potential to be that type of victory. And when you're tending to, when you're asking for what you're doing to be in alignment with with the divine, to be in alignment with your highest good, to be in alignment with the good for people, and to, even if you have to, God forbid, I don't know, maybe you're a soldier, maybe this, even if you have to kill the, somebody, let it be the right somebody. Okay, hopefully you won't have to kill them, but let that victory be of that which is good, of that which is benefic. Um, of that which is also ethical, or the most ethical it can be in the situation. That is something to consider. Um, so yeah, you will not, although Mars ruling both Aries and Scorpio, Ketu is with Scorpio. So Ketu is purging and letting go of. And Scorpio, like I said, the blood, some sensuality. Also, it is a transformation, transformative. This is why Pluto is considered to be ruling Scorpio. It's ruling cell regeneration and cellular technology, like nuclear changes to the nuclei, and that part we're letting go of. We're letting go of something, and we're purging something. This can also be purging of the tending to the psychological itself. Okay, the psychological of Taurus will ask, how am I being well fed? Do I have enough land? Do I have safety? Do I have material security? It sees spirit in matter. Okay, and so the type of thing that you're manifesting, it has to do with the context of Rahu in Taurus, leading to Rahu in Aries. Okay, and I talked about the eclipses as another part of like a fuga, where every year you open another 9 year cycle, and then one, three, not every year, every 2.5 years, you open another 9 year cycle, and then another voice, and then another voice. So this is the Venus voice, then Aries, then Pisces, then Aquarius, and so on and so forth. And then some voices when we will reach Rahu in Scorpius, and the voice of Taurus, we will be letting go of in favor of a new voice. And then 9 years, we're going to have another voice in Taurus beginning. So now, for example, if you've been doing, you're like me, Pisces Ascendant, and you had Scorpio in the ninth house, so maybe you have been doing higher studies, traveling, or teaching higher learning. And now with Taurus, you're kind of moving into a new voice. Okay, you have it in the third house. So maybe you're traveling more locally, you're speaking more with your neighbors, or with your siblings, or you're doing more vlogs like I'm doing right now, and those type of things. Okay, or being more in the bathtub. I have a bath, like the bath, like when you can put the water in bath, like not those baths that are just douche. um, so this is a part of Rahu in Taurus for me. I haven't had that in, I guess, literally probably 9 to 12 years. So that's exciting, like even on that kind of mundane level. um, so what you're beginning now also is in the context of Rahu in Taurus, and the moon is going to go over this Rahu in Taurus, but it's mainly going to go over Uranus. So you're going to have, like I said, a solution to do that. So as you can see, I'm talking about the cycle. Okay, I don't just like, it's not the new moon. The new moon, well, it's just the seeding of something that is not even seeding. You're not like we usually plant the seeds with the first crescent moon, or do the manifestation with the first crescent moon. It's just sort of something to think about as we begin this cycle. Should I go to the 12 signs right now? Well, what another thing we have here in the background is Lilith, or more to say, Jupiter is separating from trying to live it. And that is, yeah, it's interesting. So you will definitely be paying attention, your philosophy, you can think about an idea or a worldview and see, like I said, if it matches your bodily instincts. um, Mercury here is applying to sextile Ketu, and of course trine Rahu. So well, the trine Rahu I think matters more than the sextile Ketu. but it can be assisting or facilitating. Words might facilitate letting go of things and adapting or ingraining or integrating, ingraining mainly, embodying is another word, embodying the new. Yeah. All in all, interesting chart. Um, Neptune is there, not making any aspect to anything. So except for the sextile with Pluto, of course. And that will mean the moon is separating from sextile. It's not within range to separate from sextile with Neptune. For those who interpret a wide range, then yes, you could be using the help of something, of an ethereal spirit, artistic, and so on and so forth to incorporate what you desire. Um, Ascendants. So, first ascendant, I'm going to start with what's here, and that's Libra. So, ascendant Libra, with Venus ruling you in the house of the lunations of your um, applying to conjunct Saturn on the Algedy, you are called in duty. Okay, it can be that you are called in duty to manifest your dreams. Maybe you are called in duty to finally apply for that degree, to write a novel. Okay, nine times where you write a novel, write a book. Okay, maybe now you're going to start to write a book. Um, this is happening in your fifth house. Maybe you want to travel to get to know me, to study in another country. Okay, now you're manifesting that, and you're being called to duty. Okay, you're being called to see what is true, what is fair, what is rules. Are the rules protecting you? Work with Dana Balgadi. Ask for Dana Balgadi to ensure that your victory is fulfilling, is with your well-being and not in the account. You're not stepping on toes unnecessarily. Okay, make sure that the win is that you go for the win that is for the taking, but also the win that is actually fulfilling, not the win that is empty. Um, is something new creative project for you. There's a new creative project that's going to affect your career and affect your goals and dreams. You'll be traveling to conferences, or maybe you're doing activism or crowdfunding. Maybe it's a part of your studies, or maybe you'll be doing that, or maybe you do research for the book and that would affect your careers, or maybe you need to consult the boss. You starting something new around your image. Okay, it might be as simple as changing your look, but with this Cancer meet heaven, you might realize that how you feel is how you look, and you can't hide it with Cancer in the tent. You can't hide how you look. Okay, so you're open emotionally, and then you learn that, let's say you want to look good or to the world, you have to feel good. And what makes you feel good? What makes you creative? You tend to this house. Saturn right now in your fifth might have been constricting your ability to just hang out and have fun, or has been asking for you to mature in your creative projects. If you have been children, then you might have to run into the real praxis of bringing and or growing children, or connecting with your own children. So Saturn might have brought a maturation to this process. This for you also means that on that Algadi you finally have a culmination moment. You can get the results, or you can get the verdict of something. Okay, you can get the verdict of something, and with Danab Algadi, if you get the verdict around Danab Algadi, you will get the verdict that is likely to be fair, depending on your natal aspects. And that can be perhaps even positively affecting your image, affecting your dreams and goals, or your relationship with acquaintances. You've got your fifth house right. If you had been dealing with addiction to gambling, okay, you may have had. Now perhaps you're beginning to control that. Maybe now you're beginning to sober up, okay, from that addiction. And Saturn on Danabalgadi in his home house, maybe now you overcame this addiction, and now your status is better. Okay, now your dreams and goals are better, your activism is better. And now the rules are more in your favor, so you're getting help through the maturation of what you do for fun. Okay, it may also be that you've been dealing with your fertility and you've been increasing your fertility, but there were challenges to that, and you'd face those challenges and address the root of the problem. And maybe you grow roots, maybe you did something with technology and agriculture or something creative project. Now you get into fruits of that, and now from that point you can manifest what you'd like to do with that. And let's say you've cured your menstrual cycle from, let's say, the vaccines. Many people, I know of many people who have had irregular menstruation cycles, and we, just today we had a discussion in the forum of therapists, both conventional and CAM healers, psychologists and healers and shamans. So that was a very beautiful to hear that people talk about it. They were afraid to speak about this, but there are many, many patients that deal with all kinds of things, even things related to masks. People are not used to wear masks on their faces, and they have been dealing with difficulties around that, okay, or even ailments around that. Think anything you have to put on your skin that's unnatural, then some people are going to have allergies, some people are going to have more difficulty experiences, and we also had the difficulties with irregular menstruation cycle. So perhaps you have managed to regulate that. Maybe now you regulate that and now you want to bring a child. Okay, maybe that difficulty you've had with your fertility and addressing that fertility says, okay, I've dealt with that. Now I'm fertile. Now I want to have a baby. Or I'm dealt with that. Now I'm fertile. Now I want to have this creative project that my fertility from a holistic point of view, that was something that I was teaching many, many women about, that your fertility is not just if you want to have children. You heard me talking about this on my channel over and over again before I myself dealt with that issue following the vaccines. That maybe fertility is not something you address only when you want children. It's also something you address in relation to your creative projects, and to bring a creative project into fruition is to give birth to something new, okay, to that child of yours. um, so now that you've regulated that, or dealt with that, or healed that, now you can manifest your creative project knowing that you will bring that into fruition, okay. Saturn on Deneb is very supportive, even if it's not your best planet. It's still, even if it's not having difficulties with Saturn. I think I gave that example a couple of times. When I had my Saturn maturation, then it was the second time. So like I finally had the money to do a first degree, and I realized that my first attempt, when I was making my own money for tuition, I was around 22. 20, yeah, 21. I'm sorry, 21. Yeah, 21. Because we had to wait a year. Even if we don't go to the army, we have to wait a year for the stuff, like the bureaucracy, because people usually begin at 24 in Israel. And I just understood that I was studying filmmaking, and some of my instructors were people that now I know were sexual predators. So are sexual predators. So I was literally sitting in class in front of one. And it's not even scary for me now, because hey, when I dealt with that, when I dealt with that in academia, I was in my second degree, and I was a tier of 3 courses. So I had a status, I have a maturity of a woman. I was more educated around, suicide ideation, the relation between murder and suicide, and how, like people can murder someone, make them think that they suicided, especially if you are the type of person who had suicide ideation, that you can be more susceptible to that. Um, and I knew more about like the court system, and so many things that I would not think of at 22 or 21. And so it would be better if I didn't have to go through this, but I understood why Saturn was delaying me having a degree at 21, 22. But then when I did my first degree, then I went directly into my second degree, and then instead of a thesis, I went to actually study to be a holistic health practitioner, because my thesis proposal was about epistemology of medicines, or basically, I call it back to the future, the philosophy of medicine, or the body mind question from an epistemic point of view in the medicines. So it was both conventional and traditional medicine, and you can understand just from the question how many topics. Take it that I did it in politics and governance department, and my instructor was an MD and he knew about philosophy. Like he did also philosophy of science. So fortunately, I found a person who was a polymath who could guide me and was supportive. But you can understand how many things I was just studying for myself because I enjoy that. And those things are the basis of, they're still the basis of a lot of my activism and a lot of my arguments. Um, and how that Saturn basically made me victorious when I addressed what was the pre Me Too. Okay, there was no Me Too movement, but me and some of my colleagues spoke each about her own case. There was no Me Too. I just told like one colleague sued and she got like mistreated. And then I wrote a satire, and then somebody read my satire, and she was from another place, and she was like identifying with the experiment, and she said, and then one phone call says, oh, we're a lot, our cases are a lot alike, and I was like, what are you talking about? That case was human trafficking. Then I realized that my case was also human trafficking, and just because I was not agreed to that, I was sexually harassed. It took me a long time to understand I was sexually harassed because it's like, because trauma, okay? So that kind of a thing is what Saturn brings. Saturn brings the delay, so you don't have to deal with that when you're 22. If it's fated for you, I was born within the range of eclipse, so if it's fated for you, then you will do that when you are equipped to do that. It was still scary as fuck. Okay, I, uh, I could not speak. I already knew about holistic medicine. I understood that I must speak. Okay, sex chakra, throat chakra, taking the energy out, throat chakra into the open. Okay, Pluto in the ninth house, so exposing on a mass scale. Pluto opposite Mercury. Mercury, social media, using social media in a combative way. Um, I had to do that to heal, so I will not die. And then when I speak up, what I spoke up about, I was afraid to die. So obviously, like even when I was 32 and then less, and then I went to therapy, and then the therapist was perpetrator, and so on and so forth. So you will get the experience that you need to get um, when you're ready for it. Like I'm by far better doing what I did in 2016 to 2017, 2018, and then 2020 and so on. Than when I was, 21. I'm by far better after my Saturn return. I'm by far better during my Saturn maturation to have, a therapist that has astral sex with me. And that was not even the beginning of the problem. I'm by far better with all the knowledge that I have about psychiatry, psychology, shamanism, non-dual experiences, and versus schizophrenia, hearing voices versus channeling, then if that happened when I was 21. Okay, so this is true to all ascendants. So ascendant Libra, understand that what Saturn has been delaying for you is something that you will get now. Right now, you get the results with Dana Balgati. You get the results, and you might understand why you're only getting the results now. Maybe you were dealing with the fertility, so it's like there was a vaccine for everybody. Not everybody had irregular menstrual cycles, and everybody's path to heal that is different. And maybe one person realized that they never addressed that before, but now they actually kind of do, and they got gaslighting from the doctor because the doctors were not allowed in Israel. The doctors were not allowed to say it had anything to do with the vaccine. I had a 10-year long relationship with my family doctor, and she was like, disrupted, completely disrupted, because like she believed that, and by the time that she probably realized what was wrong, then I guess that A, she was also vaccinated and she also has a womb, and B, it was too late. And having so many people that you have insisted of that for them taking that vaccine, being so sure that it's absolutely safe, it's very difficult to acknowledge that mistake. So that like I just had to separate. Like I just had to decide. Well, I'm using whatever medicine I know, and when I went to study holistic health practitioner, I didn't think about it in a survivalistic vision where some of the medicine, some of the medical services are not going to be available to me because, or being quality services because I'm not able, like they're legally unable to speak about the problem and they are forced to misdiagnose. I didn't realize that I was saving my own buttocks. Um, by channeling, by doing all these experimental things on my own body. And that was actually safer than to see a doctor at the time. And I was like, what? you know? Um, which I hope will change and is starting to change. And the conversation that we had today in the community was very good and very supportive. Um, but that was also that situation where for every person that path is healing of healing is different. It's personal. Okay, for maybe one person had addressed it only after the vaccine, but then they discover as they heal, as they go to the root cause and they go to a more alternative, because who will listen to them? Then they discover that that is related to how I've been feeling during sex. Okay, how my womb, my menstrual cycle, my bleeding, it is related to how I feel during sex. Oh, and maybe you also had like itching or something like that. It's like, that is related to how I eat. Oh, when I think about why I eat like that, it is because I don't express my boundaries so much, so I just eat, like emotional eating. Okay, you do have that. And for some other people, maybe there was trauma. For some other people, maybe there was a creation of a creative project that you didn't feel like you were able to do. You didn't have the energy to do. And why was that? Maybe you were treated badly in your relationship. Maybe you were treated badly at work. Okay. For you, Libra, maybe you were treated badly by your boss. Okay. 10th house. But with this one. Or maybe you were treated badly at home. Um, or maybe you had a child and then the relation with the child was complex and then you wanted to bring another child. But you had to fix the relation with the first child. And then you remember that, it's something from your upbringing. This can absolutely be your case, Libra. Okay? And so the healing path was so personal. And so this was the trigger. It was vaccines was for everyone. But your own process had to touch your own soul. And now with Saturn and then Algady, it's like it's a common. Now you get the results of that. Now you can, if for some people it would be set that appointment with the dentist, but with the fifth house, now you can do this fertile project that you wanted to do. Now you can take that risk in your life, risk gamble. Now you can have that child, or now your relationship with your child is better. Okay, so yeah. I think I've said it. Jupiter is in your seventh house. Now, this is important because if you're the type of person, if you're not in a relationship and you meet somebody, because, yeah, well, if you're not in a relationship and you meet somebody, because there is still here within orb of the aspect to Mars, the ruler of your seventh house, notice that what you and that partner desire. First of all, you could meet them abroad, you can meet them in the higher learning or religious institution. If you go to church, you go to the mosque, you can meet that person, or you can be deciding between two people with this Mars. But also the activity, the goal, the Mars, the action that you take, it is around luxury. Even if you study, okay, the actions that you're taking this month, it's around luxury. It's around big wealth. So if you are I know that there are people who do sugaring. I don't think that this is a safe practice in any way, shape, and form. But if you are somehow a person that is okay and manage to do that safely or in your well-being, okay, I absolutely do not judge. It's just there are so many like dangers to that. And also it's like usually what I heard from people is that they have a sex. If they have sex, then it's like, you're never going to get the person who's attractive and you sleep with them. And I'm like, okay, that can have implications on your genitals and your health, be like your sexual health physically.
and also psychologically. So, like, I'm not saying this is not a solution for somebody, or but just treat you kind and make sure that whatever you do in a way that supports your well-being and not drains from that. So you might have to take it into account, because you could be, let's say you are, the rich man, the wealthy man in this situation, then you can have a gold digger, huh? You can have a gold digger that, like, either you want or she wants money, fame, power, okay? Or you could be attracted to people who have that. So with this aspect, it's always important to keep the wind, to make sure that the wind is good. And Saturn and Deneb Algadi is going to help you. So turn to that. Work with Deneb Algadi. Pray for that. Ask that, to only have what I desire if it is something that supports my wealth and well-being. To only have that being on the account of other people if it's something that is necessary, not to unnecessarily step on anybody's toes. So there are many ways that relationship can be tied in with wealth, with material, big, luxurious wealth. This is why both you and your partner, or you or your partner, act on, or business partner act on what you're manifesting. And that's important to remember. Um, the separation from the conjunction with Pluto, again, you understand what was going on in your fourth, and it's culminating, and it can be your own home, it can be the home of your family, your upbringing, and you begin to culminate the processing and purging of whatever traumas you've been through there, or whatever you've been through since 2008. Okay, it's that general cycle. So all in all, it's actually very positive lunation. You just have to mind the gaps and make sure you're using the help. Ascendant Scorpio. So lunation happens in your no in your fourth house, um, ruling, yep, your ninth and your 10th. Okay, the lunation, the moon ruling your ninth, the sun ruling your 10th. So fourth house, something new for Scorpio rising is starting in your home. And this has to do with something either high learning, or you're learning from home, maybe you're applying to a degree from home, and your career, or some place that is going to be abroad in your career. Maybe you're buying a home abroad, or you're moving out to another country in favor of your career. Um, and so Mars is in your eighth house. The ruler of your ascendant is in your eighth house. You're definitely aiming to be victorious around things to do with mutual wealth with your partner, or business partner, inheritance, taxes, debt, investments, collies. Okay, the collies, bonds. Um, I just had to talk about, somebody asked, what, like, somebody who knows how things work, tell me why insurance is the root of evil. And I was like, well, you could look at collies, which was basically the insurances the money that people get in debt to buy insurances for their employees, like what the bank buys insurance for their employees, and you pay, and you invest in the debt that the bank, like, takes a loan to pay for that. That's your collies, like banks, bullies, and collies, corporations, large corporations. And those are considered to be the safest bonds. Those are the ones that disintegrate the slowest, even during recession, or like even during 29 recession, or the deep depression sozusagen. And you might be investing in those now. Okay, again, ruler of your ascendant. So the type of investments, the bonds, deciding between which investment, or if it's inheritance, maybe some people competing on inheritance and deciding on which is the win. And so you want to keep it in alignment with Saturn. What are you investing in? With Gemini, that can be insurance, it can be the collies because of the insurance factor, and that is trade related. Um,
it can also be any sort of stock. It can also be media related stuff. It can also be because eighth house is also one of the hidden houses of hidden activities, so it can be both psychological and or maybe you're deciding between two therapists, and it can also be um, something to do with magical training or alchemical training. Here, deciding between the course of action you will take in this house. Um, and your desire, if you're doing witchcraft, then your desires to get you like, it's not even glamour magic, it's wealth magic, but this one is aiming for big wealth. So you have like the thing with Rohini Nakshatra is like you don't want to suppress it, but you want to achieve it ethically. You want that win to be fulfilling. Okay, so that's important because you will hunger for that great wealth. Um, yeah, and like I said, in general with Lilith, listen to your body, listen to your eyes. Are they dry? Are they wet? Care for your eyes. If you're constantly watching screens, like a part of how I'm doing that, I can look outside the screen when I'm doing that, and this is actually very beneficial. That I don't have to look at the flashing screen constantly to do this video, and I can look around the room. It's very healthy for my eyes. Um, so yeah, ascendant. Oh, for ascendant Scorpio, yes, you have Mercury in the fourth house. So Mercury ruling that ninth house, also ruling your 12th house. Um, and Mercury also rules trade. Again, you could be buying a house, but you have to understand what are your motivations. They could be unconscious, and that the trade or the purchase or something to do with children around the house, something the practical thing around children, and that can be conflicting. Maybe your upbringing views or your hands-on experience in your home conflicts with the views of your partner or your ideology or so on and so forth. So you're gonna have to tackle that. Ascendant Sagittarius. Um, this is happening in your third house. The lunation is happening in your third house. Um, and then Mars is in your ninth house. So you could be changing your neighborhood, moving to a new neighborhood, or well, like community college. But the community college means something different. Your local college or something, start something of, or maybe you have a local church that you're going to, or a project at the church that you're going to, or something with siblings that's in some way related to that. You could be starting a vlog, something that you write every day, something, or decorating your bathroom. Okay, the bathroom where you bathe in is also third house. For Scorpios, it was your home, but for you, it's definitely something local or where you meet the neighbors. So um, if you live in a household that has apartments, so that can be something that you do with the neighbors. Um, all in all, it's beneficial. Okay, it's benefic. Oh, Mars, yes. Sorry, Mars is not in your third house. Mars is, yeah, so this is the ninth. That Mars is in your seventh house. Sorry. So this can mean what you're starting is in harmony with the action Mars is taking in your seventh. So if you and your partner have been taking action to gain wealth materially, then you could use your neighbors, your siblings, um, to start something new. Saturn is in good position here. Lilith is in your ninth house, so your worldview. Sense your eyes if you want to see if you're in the right mindset or the right belief for you. Um, that's that. Ascendant Capricorn. Okay, lunation happens. Okay, the new moon is in your second house. You're the one who is growing the type of wealth that you make from your own skill. Okay, Lilith is in your eighth house. So if your investments are improperly, like if something is wrong with your mutual wealth investments, or somebody's doing some sort of like witchy things, or your craft, your hidden craft, you will see that in the eyes or in the heart. Okay, so pay attention to your heart and pay attention to how your eyes feel. Um, and as you are applying these skills, your eyes if will give you the sense of if you're doing a good job, if this money is coming, if it's good for you. Um, there may be a Venusian figure helping with that. Uh, yeah, and the moon is ruling your seventh, so again, something you could be doing with a partner, and this time the moon represents the partner. You and your partner might be starting something new. It could be business partner, it could be significant other, spouse, or a good relation. You could be having peace with an enemy right now. It can actually be that, or victory over an enemy as well. um, Mars is in your sixth house of work, but also open enemies. It's also the house of pets. If you get a pet right now, then you probably are thinking to make him, YouTube famous and get money. Well, it's not wrong. Just make sure you do it ethically, that your pet enjoys that, and you could be making money with that. Why not? You could be getting a snake or something, or two snakes, two birds. I don't know. Um, because Mercury is ruling twos. Um, that would make Jupiter in your fourth house, and the Pluto, Mercury stuff in your 12th. So your beliefs with Jupiter are conflicting something like applied experience that you didn't know. It's like your beliefs might not be in alignment with hands-on experience, but you're not aware of that. 12th house, what you don't know that you don't know. The good news is that Mercury and the Sun have just been around that 12th house. So that is what is up for you. Again, pay attention to your eyes, to your heart, and remember that whatever you act on, or your partner acts on, or your pet acts on, it's the money, the fame. It's that big bling, it's that wealth, okay? It's that wealth. It's not the spiritual assets of that wealth. It's the material, animalistic, predatory desire for that big, luxurious wealth. Um, Ascendant Aquarius. So you specifically, you are getting to have a brand new beginning. Especially if your ascendant is around the first degrees of Aquarius. Um, Big stellium in your house. So you're the star of the show, and you're the star of many things, and your ruler, the ruler of your chart, the traditional ruler Saturn, is at home and on Deneb Algadi with Venus. You might be meeting the right one, and you will not have to search for her. You might have been doing the internal job on you growing up, and she will meet you. She will come to you. Okay, if you're a guy seeking for a girl, or a girl seeking for a girl, because Venusian is more feminine, but with energy it can be like feminine taken in yin position. So yeah, like your significant other, they could be coming to you, and you could actually meet the right one. Okay, then a Balgadi is definitely the right thing. So you could actually get the right one. Or ending, because Saturn is also ending things. So you could be ending relationship on time. If you end the relationship in this new lunation, you do that in order to bring something. Usually we end probably with the waning moon rather than the waxing moon. Um, but this new moon can bring a new ending. Okay, it can also be like that. And if you're ending a relationship, know that It's for the right reasons because you're being true to your values. It's over values disagreement, or your values are not compatible with your partner or something like that. Um, or there's a new beginning in your relationship. Okay. Assisted by a woman or assisted by your partner, if Venus represents also the partner, the sun is also representing your partner, your relationship, your seventh house, moon your sixth. So you could be doing work with yours, you could be getting a pet together. Okay, because the seventh house, you and your partner getting a pet. Okay, moon ruling your sixth house, growing a pet together, or doing a job together. Okay, you might both apply for a job or work together, or hire employees. For some it means they're employees who can hire your partner, which is usually not advised, but there are some people whom legally that works well for them. So hey, who knows? um yeah, so this is for your ascendant. um Jupiter. Oh, correct myself regarding. Try to do the Capricorn house when Mercury is retrograde. Um, Try to do the Capricorn house when Mercury is retrograde. So Mercury for the Capricorn. When I said Capricorn ascendant, I said Pluto and Mercury is in your 12th house. No, it's not. It's in your first house. So sorry for that. Back to Aquarius ascendant. So for you, again, strong emphasis on you. The ruler is in your house, first house. If you're getting a fitness, like intense fitness, yeah, you could be doing good. Because this is also the physical. Changing your nutrition, getting fit, gaining muscle. Okay, gaining muscle, gaining habits. Moon is also nutrition. Um, Good values, good partnerships, good relationships. A very good lunation for you. Just keep in mind that Mercury Pluto at the 12th house, some of the motives for your beliefs right now are unconscious, and that's just the way it is. And some of the way to apply your beliefs are unconscious, and it can be with what's unconscious for you is that Mars there is on Rohini Nakshatra, and that is in your fifth house. Okay, so you might want to start a creative project, or you might say, oh, I'm just going to write the album that I always wanted to be written for me. And it's like, no, you want to get filthy rich and rock Spotify and get a mention from that, or go and touring around the world and get I don't know what. And so I keep that in mind. Okay. Although I don't necessarily see disillusionment here, it's just that you might be thinking, oh, I would just like to um, do something that I always wanted to do, or I'm just seeking to expand my horizons, and so I take on this project. And then, no, you're seeking to expand your bank account and your land account. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you might not be aware of that, and that can affect the course of your actions and be a bit in tension of what you believe in. Okay. So this is the Jupiter in the Mars. Jupiter in the Mars is in your third house, so it could be even the beliefs of your siblings. So your siblings versus your children, or something like that. Not necessarily, a problematic situation, just like a clash of opinions or beliefs versus hands-on experience. Ascended Pisces. The lunation happens in your 12th house. So you're getting a new beginning in that can be your dream world, because this is also the 12th house. Maybe you're starting to write your dreams. Maybe you're trying to do lucid dreaming, because with Sun and Moon in your 12th, this could be lucid dreaming. Saturn is very protective in on Deneb Algadi, so you're getting good results. If you've been trying to protect yourself Maybe right now in the waning moon, you're doing everything to protect yourself, and you change yourself and you change your point of view. Now you manage to do so. You're getting the gain from that. Your mental health is growing good. Okay? Your mental health in this new moon is growing better. Your mediumship skills. If you're a medium, you can have more clarity around this new moon. You've been tending to the unseen. And because you've been tending to that which is beyond the visible, now you can see it, or now you can show it, or now Venus, you can voice a voice around that that might not be flamboyant, but it stands the test of time. The voice you have now stands the test of time. The values you have now stand the test of time. You'll be getting to have your unconscious working for you. You've be getting to get the invisible forces working with you. Um, so a great new beginning, and the sun rules your sixth, the moon rules your fifth. Okay, you can see how your mental health and your fertility and your labor or your creative projects and your work routine, okay, not just everyday routine, working routine, and your job, you're beginning to see the light, okay? Maybe you've been getting like new pets that are, maybe now you're getting a pet. Maybe now you say, oh, I can grow a pet. And that would positively affect your mental health. And that would be also very fun for you, okay? Very creative for you. You can caretake for a pet, moon, sun, caretaking moon for a pet. Or you can do in some fifth house, maybe you like to cook, so now you learn how to cook delicious and nutritious food. It's good for your mental health. You know, I have Pisces ascendant. You've probably heard me saying about protection. You say if you put, and I had a video with the previous moon, previous waning moon, about not this one, but the previous one, about doing tinctures and doing thieves vinegar and doing garlic honey, and how later on I had a video where I said, what you can put in your mouth and under your pillow and bathe with, put in your mouth and under your pillow and bathe with. So learning all these things and kind of protecting, eliminating, that can mean a good start. Now you can cook delicious food with the herbs that protect and bring abundance. And that cooking can be fun. That cooking can be fun. And that caretaking, if you caretake for a pet, so that caretaking can be fun and contributes to your mental health. Um, and so your daytime job can be fun. You can get a job, you can get a job at something that works with mental health. Okay, something that addresses the invisible aspect of health. And you could be, and that job can be fun, it can be exciting for you, depending on what is perfecting for you. Um, so you can be reapplying or you to a job that is to do with that. Mars is in your fourth house, so whatever you're doing right now, you, even if you're perfecting your mental health or starting something new, you want to buy a house, you want to buy land, you're thinking this house or that house, this property or that property. um, if it's social media, then again, you're thinking about growing and finally deciding on being victorious in gaining that luxury. It's like if that's, even if you think about the van life or the van, like the kind of car that you live in or you can both travel and live in, you're not thinking about, you know, I was talking about a solar car a lot, but you're thinking about a luxury product. Okay, you're not thinking about the homeless van life, you're thinking about the luxury van life. And you want to get the means to do that. Um, if you're thinking Mars fourth house, you might be thinking two homes, kind of like two, and homes. So you might be thinking about two homes, and or having to choose between them on like a real estate deal. Maybe you're applying for two homes and then one is chosen, one drops. Okay, that Mars reaches the ninth house. Um, so for the Pisces ascendant, so for the victors in the house, so you could be getting your property bought. Okay, it had the Astro Victor posted about a deal that fell through during the Mercury shade, and very important information. For example, if you're asked to pay a fee, depending on the place in the world, and your deal fails, then you are eligible for compensation. Okay, and he was not a fool. He had a good lawyer, and he was not letting anybody fool him or trick him, because some people will sell the same property twice. So but with this one, you're being victorious. So, victory could be buying land. So, good luck if that happens. And if that's you, then, much good luck. And I wish for that victorious experience to be transforming and to be fulfilling and to be good, good purchase. So, many, many blessings if this is you and you're buying land. Um, or there could actually be a fight in your home or something, but that you won, that you win. It's not something that's necessarily inheritance related with this ascendant, but or you know what, somebody comes to your house that's from abroad, or you learn from abroad. Mars is also about learning, higher learning, philosophy, world philosophy. You have a winning philosophy about life. For me, I've been looking at this chart for almost 3 hours. And notice when I talked about the house, okay, I talked about the construction, the things. I literally started working with this energy, and now the moon is waning. So by focusing on this energy, I started to eliminate all kinds of things that I thought were blocks for me to do that. Um, so this is about Mars. Lilith is in your sixth house. So again, feel your eyes, feel your heart, be in the position of an open heart. You might be getting a pet, caretaking for a pet, starting a job. Maybe if you are training dogs or training pets, some of you might be working with pets in a mental institution, or healing with pets, or not even, you could be getting. I think about Broody. If you know Broody the dog, then his owner takes him to hospital and to the oncological unit. And hospitals are also ruled by the 12th house. And he like, it just, not even as a therapy dog, it's just playing with the children, making everybody happy. This big golden doodle, like huge orange thingy, a huge ball of joy that takes caretaking. Um, so you might be doing that. You might be thinking, you're getting a pet and then going to these mental hospitals or going to these hospitals and having, the dog playing with the pets. And maybe you've learned how to protect yourself spiritually. Okay, Saturn is in its joy in your 12th. Okay, it's not in any way easy, but you learn how to practically protect yourself. Those of you who have not seen, I have a video where I asked, am I being cursed on a horary? And I did it online, and I was one of the 32%. Like, I discovered, according to Chris Warnock's teaching and the quotations of William Lilly, I realized that I was cursed. So I did stuff to protect myself. No, I did stuff to clear that and to purge things and many things. So now you're actually learning, now you're getting results. And so you can protect yourself spiritually, you can protect yourself in terms of ailment, because you might be not only adhering to whatever, not all vaccines are, are problematic. There are some vaccines that are need. If you go to hospital, some things you do need. Or you do want. I don't know enough about which is which, but yeah. Or you've been protected, but aside from that, you've been eating the right herbs, you've been eating the right food, you've been strengthening your immune system, You've been working up your body, okay? You've been working up your body, and you paid attention to protecting your energy and working with energy to activate your body, and working with your body to activate energy. Um, so you could be doing that. And now you can caretake for something. Now you have the power to caretake for something. Um, so it could be performing. Uh, Performing is another art. Okay, you could be performing, and that can be. You can also be performing in hotels, which is also 12th house. And now you've with Saturn, you've learned to protect yourself. You know there's human trafficking in these institutions, just like there is in academia and anywhere else in the market. But you've also learned how to protect yourself. Okay, know where you're coming, you know where to go, what deals to take, what deals not to take. Okay, so it's a new beginning for you. Other dreams, we talked about that. You can have fun dreams, huh? Secret bad pleasures. This is also a 12th house, so you could have some nice time that is both good for your well-being and for your joy, for your self-care. So self-care and creation. Actually, when I was going through Twitter, there were one of these, letter boxes where you see the first three words that you see are going to be in like the rest of the year for you. And what I saw was joy, creation, and miracles. So, and I think about that joy, fifth house, creation. For me, the sixth house is Leo, so creativity, and also fifth house. And miracles is something that has been accompanying me for a couple of years now. Um, so, yeah, good stuff coming up. Um, Now, Mercury is in your 11th house, and Jupiter is in your second. Okay? So again, what you believe in, what you believe about your value is, or your beliefs are in alignment, or are you see that? Did you see that? I'm Pisces ascendant. I said your beliefs are in alignment with that Rohini Nakshatra. Okay. So the hands-on experience of getting that wealth can be a conflict with your philosophy, but what's actually unconsciously driving your philosophy now is that desire to get wealthy. Now, what you hear from me, so this is how you can get wealthy and ethical. But then you have the hands-on experience of that. Okay, that might be challenging. And I gave the example of credit score, of to get, it's a good ideal to buy land in cash. How do you do it? You know, how do you do it being an ethical person, business person, with your skill? Okay, um, and that's A. And then how do you transfer? Because for example, where I live in Israel, I cannot buy land in cash because the land costs what the equivalent of $5 million for American, and we can only transfer up to I think 6,000. What would be the equivalent of $6,000 for American in one, like in one transference. So even if it is, and I don't think we're allowed to, yeah, even if it is in cash, and we're not allowed to make big deals in cash. So if I had $5 million laying in cash in my bank account, okay, I could not just say transfer this person right now. I get the lands, I get everything, I get, the papers, I get, maybe 1.5 million, and then 2.5 millions, and then another 500,000, and kind of like, okay, transfer this person 1.5 million shekels or $1 million. Um, yeah, and I physically can't do that. Like I would have to pay them in installments, even though, let's say I managed to get this money in cash ethically, even though I have the money and I have zero debt policy and I'm responsible with my cash, that would mean that I would get a hard time getting a credit score. Because if the only time that I had debt was when I was a victim of financial violence, and that creates a problem, because even though that one's sort of kind of almost fixed, that creates a problem. But even if I didn't have that, being a person with zero debt policy basically means that I never used credit. And I worked for a credit card company, and I did not get the credit card even when I was working there. I only had a debit card. So by choice. So that was like by choice. And the only time I got a credit was when I wanted to pay for my like studies or things that you had to pay for um, in another fashion, and they would not get checks. Like it was that simple. And even then, it was in one installment. So I didn't get to build that credit score because I'm responsible financially. Richard Grannon talked about it, I think, during COVID. It was like, I was sure that because I was never in debt and I was responsible financially, it would be no problem for me to get a loan. And I realized it's because the other way around, because I never took money and I was never in debt. They don't know what my returning ability and how do I act with loans. So my mortgage was like it was very difficult to get a mortgage, and the mortgage is very expensive. And think about the single man trying to buy a house. Okay, it's like it's not even a family. Um, so now there is this all this credit score thing. That's like, oh, I either have to change my beliefs or to accommodate, because you like you can't be a donkey show. You like you can raise awareness to that, but you can also do the steps you need to do to increase your credit score. Some of these steps are against your nature. Or if I have to pay like something that I can agree to pay, that's like my rent in credit, I I don't know, can I live in the same place? Because I use a real estate agent, and like, will they get credit? Because they have to transfer the money. And so they usually get checks because that's simple for them. They transfer the checks. And now, will they get credit? Can I pay them in credit? And if I have to move to another house to increase my credit score, then A, how fucked up is that? And B, that would really need to be like, is it in Israel? Is it abroad? Like many different questions. And so this is how, for Ascendant Pisces, you might be meeting the fact that your values, second house, okay, and your optimism versus your dreams and goals, okay, the agreements, the practicalities of your dreams and goals, there's tension, okay. It doesn't mean that you cannot manifest your desired reality. It just means you're gonna have to go both ways. You gotta have to do both ways, okay. Both manifest that which is desired and manifest the releasing of the blockages you have in the current system to get what you want. Ascendant Aries. You'll be having this lunation in the 11th house. And so, with Mars, the ruler of your ascendant, in your third house. So, I like this combination of 11 third. It's definitely fit for a profitable blog, a crowdfunding project for your creative endeavors. Um, So for the houses, your fifth and fourth house are ruled by the sun and moon respectively. Definitely, it can be something to do with the family. Maybe you can either desire to bring a child or have a creative project to redecorate your home, or yeah, fifth and fourth, um, and the 11th house. So if you have children, they could be a part of the people that you show up with. If you're a public figure, you could be showing up with your children. If you know, you have all these vlogs, all these YouTube vlogs about my pregnancy went like that, or look at our new home. We have, this pet with Mercury ruling pets in your 10th house, or uh, and we have like this pet, and this baby came into a newcomer in the third house. You might be broadcasting with the ruler of the third in the 11th. You might be broadcasting, you might be having a vlog, a podcast, and that could be profitable. It's a good time. You get good investments, long-term investments, um, of the sort of wealth you get from crowdfunding, or the sort of stocks you get with Aquarius. Some, like, I guess somebody would say digital, but I know the digital market is a bit difficult right now. Again, with Saturn in Aquarius, for you it's definitely like difficult. You might have been the people who were hurt by the like and crash of the NFTs and the Bitcoin and whatnot. Um, So you might be recovering from that. That can also be, but I don't know. Like I'm not a financial advisor. Um, Taurus, Taurus ascendant. You'll be having this lunation in your 10th house, with your fourth and third being involved, being ruled by the lunation. New begin is also so you can get a promotion that allows you to redecorate your home or to move to another place closer to your to the place where you have to be for career. Or you could be broadcasting from home. You could be performing from home, and maybe with a neighbor or a sibling. That can also be the case. Working with a sibling. Okay, you could be working with a sibling, living nearby. Um, yeah, listen to your eyes to be seen if you're doing the right thing. You could be getting a promotion, you could be becoming a boss. Also, some good news around your caregivers, around your parents, or you as a parent. Um, Mercury and Pluto in your 11th. So Mercury ruling your 5th house. You know, like whatever it is that's been ongoing, and Jupiter in your 12th house. So there is ideation or desire or optimism um, to acquire great material wealth, and Mars is in your house. Okay, so you could be gaining great wealth from your own skill. Mars is ruling your 12th. So whatever you're experiencing in your 12th house, um, that is magnified, actually affects, you could have an unconscious belief working in your favor, but then there can be a bit of a conflict with your partner. Okay, with Mercury, with your partner. You might be getting great wealth, and your partner in your 11th house, maybe they want to invest it in a certain way, and you're unsure about it, or there's a bit of conflict. Should you do it? How should you do it? Something in your unconscious beliefs kind of gets you great wealth this time, or you have desire to get great wealth, and that affects your unconscious beliefs. And then your partner, like it could be a counter to their values, or it can be counter to their applied experience, or what you're having or what you experience is counter to their applied experience. Maybe you get that great wealth, but it's like not like what you believe that to be, or not what your partner believes that to be. So there's, it can be that you win something, and then your partner's had thoughts, negative thoughts. Maybe you get that car, that luxurious car, and you can afford that, and you are still responsible financially, but your partner thinks you're irresponsible financially for buying this flashy car. Um, because the second house is what we gain, the money we gain from our skills, and what we spend our money on. So your partner might desire to invest, but you're like, hey, wait a second, or you got a promotion that got you the money and the power, um, or you did something with your handcraft, because Mercury here is also ruling your values. So if it is your partner represents your values here, yeah, which is not a bad aspect, huh? If your values are in alignment. But now you want money and wealth, so it can actually be your partner that wants to spend that money in a way that um, there's just something about the gaining of the money and the spending of the money and the values that is a bit needing adjustment or unconscious, both for you and for your partner, business or significant other. Ascendant Gemini. So this be happening in your the lunation happening in your 11th house, ruling your 5th and 4th. Did I say that? No, it's not 11th. Not 11th. I think I got a couple of stuff missed here. So this is 12th, 11th, 10th. This is 12th, 11th, 10th, 9th. No, it's okay. Ninth house. So for Gemini Ascendant, this is ninth house. And of course, Gemini Ascendant, Mercury ruled. Right now, Mercury is retrograde. So the most difficulties to say, to get my information right, is that house. So Ascendant, Gemini. Oh, ninth house ruler is in your eighth house. And it's also your sixth house ruler. Um, they're both direct. New beginning relating to higher studies, to a travel. You yourself are either being victorious or dealing with a Martian figure that is being victorious. And that, oh my gosh, how depleting that is. Oh my gosh, the energy of both Mars and Mercury retrograde is like, but this is not the energy of the chart, okay? So you might be getting a personal victory. Finally, you know, Mars is direct, the moon is going straight, Mercury is going straight. No reason to complain, okay? Your ninth house, your worldview, you get your mind right, finally. You get your eyes right, you see reality right, okay? Finally, you see things right, cognitively. Um, some Venusian figure, some Venus figure in your ninth house. You know, it can be a teacher, it can be guru, it can be some significant other that maybe you're meeting there. This Venus is durable. It's with Saturn, so it's not something flamboyant, but it is something that has duration. That just stands. It's whatever you start now stands the test of time, and this is important. And will endure. Okay, so start something good. Ascendant Cancer. This for you is happening in your eighth house. So many planets in your eighth, preparing you for that Pluto entering your eighth house. Big projects, maybe together with your partner. You're getting things right. Like this could be an election for launching of someone, something, someone, something, something, someone, somethings. And whether it's launching anything to do with the occult, everything to do with alchemy, anything to do with hidden teachings. Um, if you're looking to just this state, but when the moon reaches Saturn and Venus, then yeah, that can be when you're starting something. You might launch it when the moon reaches Jupiter, but you know, especially you know Jupiter, your 10th house. So good things happening in your eighth. Your investments, you have definitely aligned your investment portfolio. Your joint wealth, you've definitely, if you had like hidden addictions or things managing your money patterns, like you've definitely tackled or at least mastered the majority of it. Yes, Pluto will come to that house, okay? But even when Pluto will come to that house, you have laid the ground for being able to withstand a 20 years Pluto cycle. Okay, you did everything you possibly could to withstand, to grow, to evolve. So again, depending on how you're aspected, blah blah blah, of course. But these laying out of planets means that in general, all the planets, you did what you needed to do in the Aquarius house of your charts. You got that house. I'm not saying mastered because it's the 12th house. Like when you master it, like you're no longer with us. But but that house has gone through so much reconfiguration that now it's getting such good aspects. Um, so definitely new joint project, joining wealth, and you're signing agreements, okay, with the partner. You're signing agreements with the partner regarding the new wealth that you're going to make together. So you could be having this creative project. Your second house, your skill, you're going to put your skill a lot into it. You're going to be very much involved. Okay, the ruler of your ascendant is very much involved But there are also agreements you're making with your partner, and your partner is also showing up here with Saturn. So new business with your partner, new project with your partner, you're starting it now, you're setting the footsteps now, you're very much involved, you're almost ready to launch, you're signing up all the prenuptials and the agreements. If you're planning on a wedding, this can actually be great because although Venus is not perhaps in the best position for wedding, but this could be great for elections. When the moon reaches Venus here, you might be on a good election to sign a prenuptial together. Yeah, very very good beginning. Lilith in your second house is your instinct, you're learning your body, feel it in your heart, and just to notice your eyes. That would give you the type of, are you applying your skills correctly, are your values are right. And with the sun in the eighth, your investments are going to, you're gaining the skill of investing. You're becoming an investor now. Okay, you're gaining the skill of investment, you're applying the skill of investments. Okay, the ruler of the second in the eighth, your skill in the wealth of others. Are you managing wealth? If you're an accountant, you could get a certification, you could get your project started, but this project, maybe you run your part as accountants. That can also be the case. And you're getting a good beginning in this place. Pluto's still dancing around your seventh. So right now, for some of you, there may be a bit of a crisis point of purging. And for couples who are getting married, buying property together, opening a business together, doing even business partner, doing something together, you know that moment when people are engaged and they plan the marriage and all the conflicts come up and all the fears and paranoias and whatnot and all the baggage that you've been carrying since 2008 and maybe since forever, um, emerge. That's a purging stage. And for many of you, if you've been in the wrong relationship, yes, that can mean severing, separation, absolutely. It's not divorce, but with Pluto, it's more like growing, like you've transformed into a new person and you're no longer with. But this layer of planet with this growing moon, if you're still in that relationship, if you're still in that partnership, it's going somewhere good. Okay, it's going to go through the Pluto stage. It's going to grow, and it's going. Pluto is going to reach your eighth house. So, any trauma, and the one great advice I got from Victor Astrology, he says when an outer planet, talks about Saturn, but I can definitely think that means for any outer planet, slow moving planet, is doing, or like the end of your, or is for Saturn, he says Saturn is entering Pisces, then start doing Saturn in Aries. So if Pluto is almost entering Aquarius, that's a good time to do your Aquarius. Okay, do the Pluto, like what can you be going through in the eighth house with Pluto in the eighth house? Okay, so Pluto is also about fear and trauma. So you might consciously choose to steer up, and Saturn's been very helpful, and having two luminaries in that house for at least two couple of days, that might be very helpful to start purging any blockages you've ever heard about managing something together. Any trauma you may have had about the alchemy or the occult studies or any stuff like that. Okay? Because that would facilitate the transformation that Pluto can give you. And that is, then that's a big deal. Mercury is about to reach Pluto. It's about to Um, it's going direct and it's about to conjunct to Pluto in the coming weeks from this lunation. So messages, communication, everything. So if you are now anybody for any signs, what you're going through with Pluto now is a culmination of everything that has to do with Pluto and Capricorn. This is your seventh house. It's especially important to rest on that. Okay, meditate and purge on that. Okay, um, because that elimination process, that purging process, is like any baggage that you have had from your current relationship, from previous relationships, from everything that happened since 2008, that's now coming to the surface. And it's coming to the surface to be purged. So don't separate prematurely. Don't back off prematurely. Um, don't think that it's going to be like that from now on. Don't think that that's how it's going to be with your partner. Again, if there are like like if it's something to do with violence on any level, then that might mean that you might separate or die. Okay, so for some of you that's the case. Okay, some people have been dealing with unhealthy relationships that it's time to grow and transform and grow out of, and do that safely, and so on and so forth. But for most of you, that's not the case. Okay, for most of you, you've grown and evolved, and now you're just purging, and that's the culmination stage of that. And you're just you and or your partner and partners, if it is business partners, a spouse, and here it can with your ascendant. Now in this configuration it may be all of the above. um, so keep the good things going. If you're anything to do with divination, use divination, use Hori. I do not do Hori readings. If I did, you would be the first ascendant I would market them to, because I know you're probably doing a lot of divination now. Okay, you're going from your 7th to the 8th. Okay, you're going to get, if you're going to get married, then you're going to get married and buy a house. You're going to have joint property. You're going to get a loan together. You're going to take a loan together to buy your own property together or something like that. If it's a business party, you're going to take a loan together for the business. Saturn debt, Venus with a Venusian person. Um, then you get the tremendous fears that you have. Freaking use divination and go to somebody that you can actually rely on, and you can get that. Saturn also rules witchcraft, so you can go to a female divinator, somebody who can do divination work for you and tell you, okay, am I just being paranoid? Am I just being paranoid about how this is going to go? And they can tell you a clear answer. They can tell you a clear answer. Okay, am I just being paranoid about how the relationship is going to be when we have joint property, or your partner? Okay, they might be afraid. They might be afraid to get into debt with you. Okay, so it's beyond the conversation and open conversation. This one, because we're culminating so many years. And again, I do not do divination, that sort of divination myself. I don't feel ready to take that on. Not in horary, not in any other type of divination. But you go to practitioner, sense the energy, your eyes, your heart will tell you if that's the right person for you. You could be getting an accountant, you can manage you become an accountant, your spouse is an accountant or something like that. And do get that, because Pluto in your 7th, culminate in this way, about to enter your 20 years of your 8th. Yes, you do have like, your paranoia could be well founded. You could be finally seeing something before you signing up something, and that would mean end for you, end of a relationship with the Venusian figure that this new beginning brings, in order to increase your own investment portfolio, or your own aura, or your own energy, because it's like 8th house. Um, Uh, that being said, it can very well be that all of your paranoias are so unfounded, and all you really need is a good divine guidance to tell you you're just being freaked out, like any couple that's about to get married, any couple that's about to take a loan, is getting freaked out. The fact that you're freaking out shows that you're healthy, because this is a healthy reaction to the situation. That being said, the fear is not founded, okay? And a good divinator could tell you that and could make it so you have some guidance, because Pluto is not easy, okay? Um, so when Mercury reaches Pluto, you say, is this the final breakthrough or is this the final breakdown? This particular transit indicates breakthrough, okay, something good beginning. But I don't know your natal charts. I don't know how it's aspected. I don't know how it's going to play out for you. Get somebody who knows their craft who can tell you that. If you can't do it, like, and it's okay if you don't feel like you're capable of doing that yourself, okay, right now, because it is overwhelming. Um, Ascendant Leo. So, the ruler of you is in the seventh house, starting something with something that rules your 12th house in the seventh, Pluto Mercury in your sixth, Lilith in your first house. What's going on? What are you doing up there in the seventh? Huh? What are you looking for there? And why with the 12th? Huh? Why with the ruler of the 12th? Jokingly, of course, half jokingly. Um, you're approaching someone, but there's a figure from your 12th, the figure, lunar figure, um, affecting this. There's somebody in your dreams, and you try to approach them in person. Think about your motives, huh? Your worldview. You might be wanting to get a job abroad. You want to be famous. You want to be famous. You want to gain money. You're approaching this person to be famous, to gain money. No. Your job and your worldview. Your values and your worldview are not aligned. You want to get practical wealth. You approach someone with unconscious you approach someone in your dreams with unconscious desire to gain wealth, material wealth. It's a good chart, but I don't like this chart because you're trying to get either the right things in the wrong way, or the right person in the wrong way, or you know, there's just something off. But this person that you're approaching, they have a woman, or they have a woman. I'm very much channeling now. They have a woman
and she's protected. You, somebody has, if you're a man seeking a spouse, could be Aquarian, somebody in Aquarius, you want to get famous by doing this. But this is wrong for you. This is wrong for you. This new beginning. You're trying to do something that's wrong for you. That's what I feel. I don't know if you're watching now. No, I'm not watching now. I don't know who you are. Is anybody Aquarius ascendant? Aquarius maybe ascendant sun and moon, but it is Aquarius ascendant mainly. Yeah, no Aquarius. Sorry, Leo ascendant. I feel that you are trying to approach someone that is in your dreams, or that you have that was affecting your dreams. You're dreaming about this person. You try to approach them in the physical, but you're doing that for the wrong reasons. You want to get money. You believe you can get money this way. You believe you can be famous. You can be a public figure. If you marry that person, you really need to watch what you're seeing. Like, you really need to watch yourself. You really, because even though the aspects here are good, but when I'm channeling, I feel you really need to watch your actions, because you could get your wish. Okay? You could get your wish. But will you be happy in this marriage? Okay? Look at Venus. She's conjuncting Saturn. She's not flamboyant. You need somebody to admire you. You need someone who will admire you. You're turning to someone who you admire so that they're in your dreams, so that you will become famous. But this Venus is practical. Is she looking for an intelligent companion that's not flamboyant? She's not into giving you praise. She could give you even criticism, not harsh criticism because it's a bad about you. She can give you right criticism. Okay, she can be beneficial for you, but you're turning to her to be famous. You want wealth, you want praise. And she? No, not at all. No. Or she has someone. Saturn, the ruler of your planet, is with Venus. If you are a man looking for a woman, or a woman looking for a woman, she may have another woman. Saturn is with Venus. She may have another woman. She may be married even. Maybe you're looking for someone married, someone unavailable. Pluto is in your sixth house, okay? Still conjuncting that moon. Somebody you dreamt about maybe yesterday, okay? If when you watch this, if this is the day of the lunation, the day of the new moon, maybe yesterday, maybe last night, okay? You dreamed about someone. She was in your dreams. Very powerful. Maybe something work related. Maybe someone who yeah, you thought, oh, I can like work with her. She can be a partner to me. We can get married. I will be very famous. It's a very immature thinking. Trying to see what's governing this immaturity here. Sagittarius is the ruler. The ruler, okay, Sagittarius is your fifth house. Sagittarius in Aries in your ninth house. The ruler of the fifth in your ninth. Okay, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But your worldview, you know, about a romantic partner is it's optimistic, it's expansive, but you dream about, you know,
You dream about the good and money and fame being together. And then you need to think about your status. And now you're thinking, this is why you're doing this, okay? Because your 10th house Taurus and the Venus in the 7th, so you try to get status, okay? You try to get a higher status with this woman or with this man that you're thinking about. Maybe this man is like an artistic person, like Venusian, a trader, a banker even. Maybe you're attracted to a banker. It's not because your affections are not real. You are genuinely attracted. You are infatuated even. You know, it's not that you are not being genuine in your affections. Okay, you're not trying to finesse this person in a way that's like molesting, but um, you're trying to get a sudden gain in reputation. And you've seen this happening, okay? You've seen Uranus in your 10th house. You get sudden gains, sudden losses in reputation. And Rahu is there. So now it's like, oh, I should act on that. I should be known as perhaps the spouse of that singer, the spouse of that performer, banker, the spouse of that, you know, voice, the spouse of this beauty, okay, this beautiful, intelligent person. But she is like Venus in Aquarius, she's like, she is not looking to impress anybody. She with Saturn, she's looking for the right one. You're not anywhere around. You're in her house, but she with Saturn. You're the sun. You're represented by the sun, okay? Sun, like, worship me, admire me. I want to be famous. I will appreciate and praise you, and you'll worship me, and we'll be famous together, and or I'll be famous, yeah. And she's like, I'm not. I'm looking for the right one for me. You know, she can give you criticism. She can give you and if you've been using witchcraft to attract her, which you like, I don't think you did, but if you've been using that or trying to do that, she's like, no, she's gonna cancel that. She's gonna deflect that back to you. Okay, I don't think you took it that far, but um, you want a sudden gain in reputations. You want to be a public figure and get money and fame by marrying this woman. No, no, no. You know. Um, if you marry this woman, if it's successful, if you win, she will lead you through a path that your natural, like your natural ascendant, the ruler is the sun, is not accustomed to. Okay, it's a path of diligence and criticism. If you're doing that wrong, she's going to criticize that. If you're doing that wrong, she's going to criticize that. Not in a molesting way, but in a like, this is the truth, this is the rules, you have to apply to that. No, you can't use money in that way. No, you can't, like, you know, you can have a growth process that is not so flamboyant, not so easy. Okay, you look for the money and the fame. She can give you a reality check. You can say, "Oh no, the money. Maybe you look like I'm a rich girl, or you marry me, you be a rich guy." But did you know? Okay, if she's like a royal figure, a leader, it's like, did you know? We constantly being policed. We constantly being secure, or we have to pray these many hours, or you know, like we can only drive the car on Sundays and there's a driver driving the car, you know, kind of think like there are so many rules and regulations in this relationship, rules and regulations around the Venusian. When can you meet me? When can you not meet me? religious, okay, because you could be attracted to religious. The ruler of your 15 and 9, okay, if your romantic partner, that which you romanticize, could be religious. Okay, maybe you're attracted to someone very rich, okay, maybe like someone from Dubai, okay, and she's Muslim. And she's like, well, no, you're not getting access to my bank account. The woman in Muslim country, like Muslims, the woman keeps the wealth to herself. The husband is not allowed to even ask about the wealth of the woman. Not only that, he has to give a gift, okay, of the financial sort. She's entitled to her own land, to her own house. Okay? It's the rules to protect women. And you didn't know that. You thought, oh, maybe she's the daughter of Venus, Saturn. She's the daughter of. This is going to rise, and you could, like, you might get your wish, because she might, it might be like even arranged marriage or something like that, because rules and regulations around marriage. And there's Neptune in the eighth house, so you've been delusional. So you might find out that, like, no, you're never going to touch that wealth. That is her wealth. You're not going to touch that wealth. And you still have to do the prayers, you have to do this, you have to do that. No, you're not going to be immediately famous just because like, you're trying to approach something, somebody that is in your dreams, that you dreamt about their power. Maybe you met them at work and they're a powerful person and you want to marry them, and they're not making any aspects with you. Okay, they're just not making any, they're not connected with you. So for you, I see that happening. Now, what can you do? Okay, you've been. You can, first of all, if you speak with this woman, if you approach this woman, you approach her for the wrong reasons. Take a criticism. It's harsh, but take a criticism. But it's not likely that you will, because only when the moon reaches that, um, then she might affect your dreams. Not necessarily on purpose. She might affect your dreams. You'll be getting messages. Listen to these messages. Saturn is also when you can let go. Okay, now you're very much drawn to her. Now it's you can let go with the moon, which is Saturn. The reality of things. You can begin to let go, and just think about it as how, like, just reassess what you're looking for in a connection, because your partner wants intellectual challenge, yes, which you can provide, and she's not looking um, for that kind of, okay, she's not looking for that kind of fame. And this is true, not who we are dreaming right now, but this is true in general. um, so even though there's a new beginning in your seventh house, and it looks like, cognitive is like, oh, there's a big, you could be meeting the right one. No, she's not she's not the right one, um, for you. And you reach out to her, so but unfortunately, in most cases, I feel like, at least for the people watching this, you're not looking for the right reasons. Your motives are not right. And if your motives are not right, you're not going to get it. Or if you get it, you're not going to be satisfied with it. And then it's also it's enduring. Okay. So, yeah. Um, say a prayer, allow things to be only if they need to come to fruition. Allow desirous nature to come to fruition only if it needs to come to fruition. Um, ask for only the fame that is good for your well-being, and so on and so forth. That will help you a lot. Ascendant Virgo, last but not least. So the lunation is in your fifth house, ruler of your ascendant in your fourth, and Mars is in your 10th house. Um, the lunation rules your 11th and 12th house. Um, in your fifth house, you're beginning a new hobby. or you might refining your connection with your children. There still is something unconscious driving that, but you can get access to it by paying attention to your eyes and paying attention to your spine position, paying attention to your heart. Is your heart open? Then you can communicate with your children better. You can take better decisions, risk or gambles. Um, this is all in all okay, very good potential. If it's romance, then same as I said for Leo. Just listen to what I said for Leo, because it concerns you as well. Other than romance, if it's just like a connection with the children, if you're thinking about bringing children, again, make sure that you don't think of how I'm going to be YouTube famous with my baby broadcast. It has to be something more than that. Um, if it is, well, yeah, because if it is children, they're going to be, they're going to have public life as well, or one of the caregivers is, is public or a boss or a career person. Um, It's like the career, the limelight is, or even paparazzi, because 12th house, I think it could also be paparazzi, so it can also affect your children. So again, be very mindful about your motivation. Say a lot of prayers to only have the victories that serve me and my well-being the best. In your case, the well-being of my children, my family. Because this is good, it's good increasing moon. But then there's some signs that have to be cautious about that. Other than that, it's probably, but because the ruler of the 12th is in your fifth, so in the best case, you've been doing something fun or you've been connecting to your children and you're able to see that which was invisible. Or your child says something that was a blind spot to you, okay? This is the best. Other cases can be, like paparazzi or cases of the 12th invading, or you've been having things in the 12th that are invading your, all visible. Suddenly, things you were not ready to see, you see them in a place where should be fun, stuff like that, annoying stuff like that. Um, but all in all, it is okay. Oh, sixth house. I'm sorry. Sixth, 12th. Yes, sixth, 12th. So sixth house. Again, Mercury ruled and now Mercury retrograde. So no, it's not. And where it happened with the Virgo. Make that mistake with the Virgo. So this is sixth house for you. Sorry. So for sixth house, it's actually better. Unless you're applying for a job or starting a new job, which again, you need to check your motives. Um, But other than that, you could be seeing how addressing your physical health affects your mental health. Like you could be getting good results with your physical and mental health. Um, as for if you're starting a new job, again, like it's the house of open enemies. Okay, that means your enemy is like in the best position ever. So, but if you're getting a pet, again, watch your motives and it will be okay. And I think that sums it all. Oh my gosh, it's almost 4 hours. What a heck of a lunation. And I'm gonna wish you all the best. If you wonder like where to find me, then I'm Talishir on Twitter, which I recently came back to this account as well. I have two more accounts on YouTube. It's Shirley Tali, a Real Dreamer, and Jupiter Rising Shirley. That's just, another way, backup channels or channels that I experiment with. Shirley Youngblood on Instagram and on Facebook, Shirley Tell Youngblood. And yeah, if you've been inquiring about a reading, then that's a possibility. Talk to me and we'll see what's your question and what you want. Then there are some readings that I do.
Usually personal readings. You see, I work with whole sign houses mostly. If I see something in your chart that's calling for Placidus, I'll address that. Um, I work with, the transits perfections. If you have a birthday, then we can incorporate a solar reading. Like, I don't like to do only solar readings because I don't like to stray too much from your chart. I think only in horary can you stray from the chart that much. And maybe if you do D9, but I don't do D9 or Indian astrology. So that is something I do. Synastries and composites, yes. Horary, currently, no. If it's like something, not serious, then you can go for the reading by donation and then we can try. Oh, but with horror, you have to be invested. No, I cannot. I thought about doing studying with you, but with horror, you have to be invested. I might do a live session of horror. So if you want to join a live session with me on trying to ask but horror question, and you have to give me the timing of like exact the birth chart of the question. When did you think about it? The minute, and so on. Has to be a question you're invested in, and we can try and do online where I learn horrors and you're my example of the day. I'm not likely to charge for that, at least not in the beginning, because I'm only learning. Um, but then you'll have to be willing to address this question publicly. Okay? So if I take a question, it means that I answer you publicly. So you can be there with me live, or you can watch this video and like you could ask that anonymously, but we're gonna see the chart of the question and what was the question and me interpreting the question. And also, if you ask like about the spouse, about the this, about the that, then I will also have to reveal that because it's going to be for educational purposes of me and of my viewers of the Learn With Me episodes. But if you do want that, yeah, that's a possibility. I can take Horary, but not as a reading, a paid reading, more like something I do for my channel. If you want me to give you a live reading on this channel, then that's a possibility. Um, you'll need to be very prepared because that means that everybody sees that. Okay, it means that everybody sees your chart, means that everybody sees your face, it means that everybody sees your question. So it's like a conversation. It's not impossible. And for this one, I do charge, okay, because preparation and all. Um, but I will probably charge less just because, like, you have to be visible. Um, well, I'm gonna definitely do divination before taking one. But also do ask yourself if that's what you want. This is not a way to get a discount. Okay? If you cannot pay for my consultations, you can apply for the waiting list for my subsidized reading. I have a model that goes fully paid readings and fully subsidized readings. Every once in a while, I will open a reading by donation, and this allows me to address people who are like priced off of having a reading. Don't go for the live reading. You know what? I'm thinking I might just charge a full reading for the live reading because I'm afraid that you will go to try to get a discount and compromise your desire for privacy. So I won't do that. I'm sorry, but a live reading with me is fully priced. Okay, fully priced. So scrap that. Fully priced reading. Simply because I don't want people to do that in order to think they can compromise their own desires and standards, and I want you to only do that if you're willing and would like to participate in that. It means that everything will be aired, and I do live videos. Okay, I don't have a way to edit that currently, so that's important. Take it into account in my interviews in general. We come in for a live conversation. All in all, I like this lunation in Aquarius, and I hope you will too. So, yeah.